it's yours, but still in me. I cannot detox from this condition, conviction. You're inside my misery box. I'm still never free from this addiction, affliction. Now it's yours, but still in me. Cannot detox from this condition, conviction. You're inside my misery box. I don't deserve you. You stay true. I want to save you from my misery. You couldn't save me from my misery. I'm addicted to my misery box. Addicted to my misery box.
Well, good morning, best chat. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to some delicious, malicious morning nonsense chat. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Hello to you, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful, fantastic Monday, a fantastic Tuesday, a terrific Wednesday, and already, well, I don't know. What else could there be than a fantastic Thursday? Welcome back, chat. It's the day before Weeb Day. I've been trying to watch some anime, get some new stuff for tomorrow. I did manage to watch a very short series. Should be pretty fun. I think you might like it. I think you might have heard of it, but we'll check it out tomorrow, chat. Getting ready for Weeb Day, Weeb Day, Weeb Day, Weeb Day tomorrow. But let's see what we have today. Who's decided to join us today? It's Gunblade Knight says, good morning, LD and chat. Well, good morning to you, Gunblade Knight. Hello to you, Hudson Bombs. Good morning, folks. Not only do millennials hate heroes, they also don't understand them. When all you can do is speak platitudes, watching, I call it Twitter dialogue. Watching someone be genuinely heroic is a foreign concept. Yeah. Especially when you're more concerned with representation as opposed to aspiration, which is a very millennial thing. As a mom says, traditional heroes for the win. Absolutely, 100%. Because superheroes are supposed to be aspirational, not representation, not representative, right? I don't think ever really stories were ever about representation. Now you can have writers go in there and say, well, here's my story about, a guy from my culture and everything, but it's not because he needs to represent people. And if they have someone from I don't know, say a Middle Easterner, like in writing a story for the 1001 Arabian Nights, was like, okay, well, this is a story about my guy, and a guy from China shows up. Like, it's not going to be because I need to have representation from like guys from China or something like that. It's because he's going to represent something else to the story. Like his culture is going to become important, or how I see him is going to be, or the fact that he's foreign is important, and the fact that he's Chinese makes sense because it's like really close to where the story takes place. So he's foreign, but without having to travel too far, so it makes sense. Something like that. That's kind of what it's supposed to be. Like, stories are supposed to be like. It was never about representation, and superheroes or heroes in general were never really about representation. Like, not like Odysseus to Ajax to Hercules, all those like ancient Greek heroes. They were never about being Greek, right? I don't think anyone writing these myths or recording these myths were like, you know what, we need to add in like because they didn't think of themselves as Greek necessarily. They're like, okay, this guy's from Sparta, this guy's from Athens, that sort of thing. So like, we need to add in like a Spartan and an Athenian in here for representation purpose. Like, no, they didn't think about that. This guy has to be Persian in the background because we need some Persian representation. No, because they knew that's retarded. But they probably didn't even think about it because it was stupid. Like, why would I just add in characters for no reason? If they added in a character from another world or another town or whatever into the culture, it's to bring something new to the story, as opposed to I was forced to add this guy in here, or I was forced to change this character so that there can be more diversity. Like then that's dumb. But yeah, this is the generation. My generation, unfortunately, is the generation that really, really enjoys diversity and representation for needless purposes. Like just add him in there. Let's turn this guy black. Let's turn this guy Asian. Let's turn this guy gay. Let's make this character into a woman. Why? Not because it enhances the story, but because we got to meet a diversity quota, which is detrimental to the story. That mindset is detrimental to the story because it puts quota and activism and social awareness over the integrity of the story. And so, yeah, that's kind of what that's how you get what I call millennial slop, where yeah, some of it might be technically good, but it's it really like Amazing Digital Circus, for example, has a big drama going on, and I find that show pretty entertaining with the mysteries and everything, as long as the mystery holds up, the final reveal holds up. But it's also it's also suffering from a bad case of toxic fans, like really toxic fans. And you get this because it's about a demanding, entitled fan base. Now, there's a big difference between fans who are, deservedly entitled. There is a certain level of entitlement that fans deserve for, investing their time and money into a franchise. And what the fans are owed is consistency, good stories that make sense. Basically deserve respect. Like you treat the story the way you want as an artist, but what the fans want. You respect the fans. You don't do it despite the fans or to anger them or to divide them. You make a story in earnest because it is, one, your vision, and two, because you respect the fans. That's it. That's what the fans are owed. They're owed respect. However, they are not owed complete and utter control of your creation in life. So what I mean by that is, if some group of fans, even if a large group of fans come in and they say, "Oh, well, these two characters are obviously gay and they need to be in a couple," and they've convinced themselves of this, and then when you have like that character be straight and they're not, and the two characters they want to be in a couple are not in a couple, they start to say you're homophobic and try to tear you down and try to ruin your life and ruin your show. That's not the level of entitlement that you deserve. Right? It's not, you don't get that level of control over the artist or the art, especially if it's just you as or a small group. Because then not only are you steamrolling over the artist, you're steamrolling over the other fans who are either okay with it or invested in the characters and the canon setups. Like if a bunch of Zutaras came in there and said, "No, we're going to ruin the lives of everyone involved in this project because Zutara needs to be the thing." And not Aang in Qatar, like that sort of thing. So that's kind of what happened with Amazing Digital Circus. Like these fans or these toxic fans are just so obsessed with their own headcanons and their own really fragile sensibilities that Gooseworks, the creator of Amazing Digital Circus, is like, I'm done. I'm out. Once the finale drops, I am done with this crap. I don't want to do this anymore. It's killed all creative inspiration for the story. Now, the reason for that is because despite how much I enjoyed Amazing Digital Circus, it's still kind of millennial sloppish. Like it's still a millennial slop. And what I mean by that, it is very socially aware. I often complain about how much therapy there is in that show. It's about, it's very coddling. It's very it's kind of what millennial slop is. It's very socially aware, and it's in some way very coddling for the most part towards feelings and everything. Safe space mindset. And it's in there. It is an Amazing Digital Circus. I mean, there's some major confrontation, but even then it feels very safe. Even then, it feels very safe, and the people kind of just explode. It's just kind of like, here's an explosion of emotions, or here's a therapy session, and you don't really. I don't know. It isn't. It feels more childish when they handle this sort of thing. Like it feels like tantruming and therapy sessions, as opposed to mature, guided, and gradual emotional buildup and everything. It very much is like that. And so the millennial slop tends to come with a very powerful foundation of childishness, and that kind of draws in childish people, which in turn gives you your weird toxic fans, which tend to be sex pests as well. I don't know, weird stuff. But this the Steven Universe fandom, all that stuff, they tend to be big children mentally who think they can just demand anything they want, and if the show does not cater to their every whim, they have every right to destroy your creation, destroy you, and grow a big tantrum. It is a big portion of the millennial slop, unfortunately. So because you look at it and you look at other things, right? Like Space King, notably, doesn't have this problem. And if they have a therapy session in Space King, it's like played for laughs. It's ironic. It's like this is dumb that these hyper roided up space marines are just having a therapy session. It'd be funny that way, right? So the thing is, it's played for laughs, and Space King does not hold back. And famously, it has a whole thing where they're killing all the little girls and capturing all the little boys. Like, it's not hold back. It's a little edgy. There is no coddling in there. The characters make fun of each other for like this random things. They tear on each other. They tear each other down, but they also support each other in some way. It feels more human, right? Millennial writing tends to be more corporate sanitized, and they're socially aware, they're emotionally aware, all this crap outside of the story, and they think on a meta level, like this. We're going to write the meta stuff into the story. Meanwhile, Space King this rolls into it and just kind of does whatever it wants, right? And then what else? What's the other one? Oh yeah, like the Barbarian. Maybe the Dungeon Soup. Dungeon Soup does not have a swarm of toxic fans. As a swarm of people who love the story, and because it does not hold back, it kind of just does funny things. It does things that are kind of logical to the story and the setting, as opposed to this. What? I hope that this is not offensive. Oh, time for an emotional therapy session. Like, there's no coddling in there. Is it not really? It doesn't have that childish foundation that a lot of millennial slop tends to have. And it's weird because it's very subtle on occasion. Like, it's very subtle. So while you're watching a show, and suddenly you it feels like Hazbin Hotel. It feels like what else was there? It feels like what's the other Ruby? It feels like it feels like Mason Diesel Circus. You kind of feel like this is the same kind of show. You kind of feel like that, and it's in the best way I've been able to describe it. It also feels like what's that one that Crunchyroll made, the Guardian Spice? It feels like that, right? It's going to be very coddling. It's going to treat all the major social issues with kids' gloves, where Space King would just, I guess, for example, Space King had a trans character, they would mock it relentlessly. There would be a big joke about it because they don't hold back. Smiling Friends does not have this issue, because they'll just make fun of whatever, and that's kind of the key there. There are no real sacred cows, there are no sacred cows here. But you get your millennial slop, and they are socially aware. They will try to stay away from, that if a guy is going to make a gay joke, he has to be a bad guy, for example. So it's very socially aware. It's very corporate sanitized, and you get those people who are like big spoiled mental children. Like, they're still mentally children. And see, it's crazy stuff. So this kind of what happens when you have like a whole generation that kind of wants to thinks they can dictate everyone's actions and morality, and thinks they can that every piece of art should reflect them, as opposed to show them a better way. Cater to them, coddle them, instead of show them something they can become. So they want Superman out here to, say trans rights are human rights, and to march in Black Lives Matter protests, but they do not want to have him, show us that we need to be nice to our neighbors and to forgive people and to be accepting. They don't want to see that, or to stand up against the evil and overcome emotional temptation. They don't want to do that. They don't want to do that. Like, if they throw a succubus at Superman, they want him to succumb, and for that to be okay, as opposed to Superman overcomes this by saying, no, be gone, thought. They don't want that. That's too much. That's too right wing. So that's what they want. And unless Superman is marching in Black Lives Matter protests and being gay and saying trans rights or human rights or something, then they want to explore how much PTSD he has, right? How dark and conflicted he is, and how he's not actually this moral paragon, and that he has all these dark thoughts and everything. So unless he's catering to their sensibilities, they kind of want to tear him down and show the rest of the world that, oh, this guy's not so good, Zack Snyder style. But anyway, that's my theory as to why millennials just hate heroes. It all comes down to narcissism, like rampant, not even like a like natural it's like it was like nurtured into us. And see, Siege Guardian says, "Good morning, LD and Best Chat. Get your coffee. Finding out how incapable people can't handle seeing others do the right thing. They can't. Getting jealous due to their own lacking. Absolutely. And see, McCollum, good morning. Hello to Area64 says, what's up, LD? And Best Chat, I recently got a new beta reader, and this feedback is very positive. Fantastic. He kept telling me how he felt about certain characters, and each time I thought, yep, that was my intention. Awesome. Well, that's some pretty good feedback. Well done, Area64. And beta readers are really good. They're really helpful. Copy says, good morning, LD and Best Chat. Good morning. She's Garden says, apparently some folk are allergic to content with high moral fiber. Yeah, they kind of are, especially these days. There's the heroism intolerant. Now, fortunately, it's not everyone. It's like a good majority of people still like the traditional stuff, but it's a very loud, narcissistic minority, which actually is only a minority by the fact that there are millions compared to maybe or tens of millions compared to the maybe couple million. So there's a lot of them still, but it's not as much as people who do like the traditional heroes and everything. It's a trying to be God. Good morning, LD and Best Chat. A black female doctor accidentally decapitated a baby. How do you even do that? Why trying to deliver it? Hospital hid it from the parents for days and labeled it an abortion. How did you even do that? How do you decapitate a baby by accident? Boar Legion says good morning and happy Thursday, LD and Best Chat. Good morning to you, Boar Legion. Good morning. You will get your coffee. Hello to Carnic says good morning, Devin and Rumble Chat. Oh yeah, 10th anniversary of Harambe sacrificing himself for the world. To which the White House has issued a statement, and is the official White House account on X has now issued a memorial tweet about Harambe. 1 second here. Here it is, chat. Here it is. A memorial tweet about Harambe. Fantastic. There it is. So yeah, so today we remember a legend. On this day in history, Harambe would have celebrated another birthday, an icon that became part of internet history, American culture, and an entire generation's timeline. Tomorrow marks 10 years since we lost him. 10 years. It's a moment the world stopped scrolling and collectively mourned another bigger than a meme. And see, he became a symbol of loyalty, strength, chaos, unity, and strange beauty of the internet, bringing millions of people together for one cause. Never forgetting Harambe. Everyone remembers when they heard the news, and somehow a decade later, this legacy still lives on. Gone, but never forgotten. Rest easy, a true patriot. Forever in our hearts, Harambe. Fantastic. Very nice. One Double Machete. I don't think millennials hate superheroes. They hate the so-called heroes doing evil things and justifying their actions, saying that's for a greater good. Yeah, for like I said, it's like a big chunk of it's like millennial culture, but it's actually this millennial culture is being upheld by a collective relative few. But I will say that that scene from The Witcher where Leo Bonhart is killing the rats. If every single time I find a clip of that scene, in the comments are just tons of people just cheering on Leo Bonhart killing the rats. He just kills the entire HR department. So no one likes these woke characters. They don't. No one likes them. Everyone hates these characters. Like a big majority of people just hates these characters, hates what the writers of Hollywood are doing to heroes. And let it be known that if you make these non-binary, Mary Sue characters, the audience will cheer for their deaths because they are insufferable, absolutely insufferable. But it's really funny to see that every clip I've seen about Leo Bonhart killing the rats is like, yeah, get him. Everyone fell in love with Leo Bonhart when he killed those rats. And see, I hate the so-called heroes doing evil things and justifying their actions, saying it's for the greater good. It's a Paso Largo Jr. says, good morning, LD and Best Chat. Well, good morning to you. Good morning to you. Let's see here, chat. Non sequitur says deconstructing heroes is done out of selfish and vindictive boredom from those with no purpose or talent. Yeah, because they don't like to be reflected against. They don't like the mirror being held up to their faces. It's Inspec Vim says, good morning, LD and Best Chat. Hello to you, Inspec Vim. Hello, Mr. Vat says, LD, 10 years ago today, we lost a real one, Harambe. They had no idea of all the suffering he went through daily, holding the world in place. He's the Atlas of our time. He was the Atlas of our time. And lifting it up the mighty shoulders of Atlas. Let's see. Leaf says, good morning, LD and Best Chat. Australia, I want reparations. Mixtape is an atrocity. I am a 90s CA kid. Insults real, actual Californians. We had 3 strike laws. Tough on crime. Say no to drugs. Mixtape part 2 says, mixtape didn't even have a basic Google search. It was an insult. It was insulting to us as a Nolan's Odyssey is to Greece. What if that Californians sue the Australians? Kind of like how Egypt sued Netflix for making Cleopatra black. What if the Californians sued Australia for mixtape? That'd be pretty funny. And see your chat. Yeah, this non-secret says 2027 reboot of Xena will be trans. Yeah, because why not? It might as well at this point. Little Fed says, praise be to LD, the best chat, and of course, Space King. Apparently, hot redhead story lady did a video on Fight Club and the importance of fathers. We did. Don't worry about that. We did that yesterday. We covered that video yesterday. Little Fence. It's a pretty good discussion. Pretty fun. I did go into Iron John quite a bit, and Hero 1,000 Faces. We talked about Fight Club, which is always a pretty cool topic to me. I love Fight Club. It was a pretty fun discussion. I think it was pretty cool. No super chats, really. I don't think we got a single super chat while we discussed all of that. But it was still pretty fun discussion. I think the only super chats of yesterday were like before the show started, or before we got into the meat of things. But it was pretty fun. It's Card Kitchens and one lit and best chat. It's been 10 years of Harambe's death. Lady Fast says, thanks for the part 3. Says, on the flip side, I'm motivated enough to begin building out my love letter to Calvin and Hobbes in a game. Very cool. It's also inspired by Pizza Hut revamp. Very cool, very cool. That's kind of that's why Alan Moore. That's why Alan Moore said you should also read bad books along with good books, because the good books can inspire you and show you how it's done, and bad books can show you that you can be better. It can show you that, hey, can inspire you by saying, hey, I can do better than this, right? Bad books tell you that, you're doing all right. You're doing all right. Read anything by Tom King and you'll know you're doing all right. That's how it goes. So, so this is a power of bad media. Like, we get bad media and it sucks, but the good side of that is inspires actual artists to take up the pen and go, you know what? I can do better than this. Way better than this. Let's see. Yeah, Xena doesn't need a reboot. Now, none of the things that have gotten a reboot have really need a reboot, but it did. If your mindset is we need to start making things woke. So yeah, like we didn't need another Odyssey movie, did we? But we didn't have a woke one yet. So that's so Greg. So what was his name? Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan has stepped into the arena to give us the woke version of the Odyssey that we all definitely wanted. Dr. Crow, good morning. Hello to LD and Best Chat. Went and looked up on old favorites. The Door Monster skit of the heroes having a dandy crisis. Checked on the channel. They mostly do video essays now. And he's trans. That was a big shocker to me. Like, what? He's trans now? What? He's trans and he hates the hero's journey and walked away from religion and hates the right wingers and hates Jordan Peterson. The usual uniform mindset has dawned on Door Monster these days, unfortunately. Let's see. Cardi says, I see Liptiv has seen Gachikuta Fiasco. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I think so. The whole thing where the toxic fans are rising up against the manga for retweeting some like video that was a guy dancing with leaks on his head. Let's see. Last thing says Ellen Page is going to be cast as every iconic male character in remakes from now on. Yeah, because everything needs to be woke now. Kawa says, hi all. I know slightly late today. Hello to you, Kawa the Token Nerd. Welcome, welcome. Revi's husband says, millennial here. I don't hate heroes or the stories that they come from. And to say it's just sort of small vocal minority of so just cowards scream online about their feelings. Unfortunately, they have become our faces. I also am a millennial. However, I do advocate for traditional heroism and traditional storytelling. But the few loud minority people have become the face of millennial culture and have shaped millennial culture. And so our culture has become this anti-hero, anti-American, anti-human movement, very coddled people. Let's see. Lee Wolf says PvP watched it and he hates Digital Circus. Like from Kino Casino. Drezil says, good morning, everyone. Do you have a favorite YouTuber and why did you start doing YouTube in the first place? Because I wanted to explore stories, and I was seeing like all the woke crap coming out of Hollywood. Like, you know what? This is nonsense. Let me go ahead and explore this in a meaningful way. And Salem Fence says, everyone likes me and thinks I'm great in my safe space. Oh, yeah, my safe space. Kid Crush says, even when Jaws goes all evil, he still only tortures them mostly off screen. It's true. It is true. Space King. Space King is pretty good. Let's see. Lady Festival says, are you talking about late 90s or early 2000s on the whole swath? On one side note, why do millennials have 2 to 3 decades while everyone else gets one? I don't know. I guess it's like a big chunk. Yeah, it's a big chunk. I think millennials are like from the 80s to 2000s or something like that. Let's see. Where are we now? It's Michael Cera's fault. After Juno Page knew she could never be another man again. Let's see. Shadin says Ruby never cut the limbs off a lich, impaled him, or wore him on a backpack. Yeah, like no one ever did that. They kind of just talked about their feelings and had Ruby commit suicide for some reason. But yeah, what is the barbarian? Yeah, there's not going to be any coddled millennials like clamoring over Dungeon Soup after like seeing him do all this crap. Like he just beat up a succubus like for like a whole like there's a montage of him just beating up and torturing a succubus to death. They would not allow that because the succubus is a woman. And the power dynamics with the barbarian is completely in a man's favor. And they could never have that. They would never stand that. Let's see here, chat. Let's see here. Where are we now? Let's see. The Wolf says Ruby had a glimpse of being good, but Monty dead and Rusty. Yeah, it was going okay. It wasn't great. It was okay, I guess. I was like, okay, well, let's see what's going on here. It was all right, but then the show got worse because Monty died, and the other writers took over, and they're clearly like this Tumblerinas. Clearly Tumblerinas who didn't know how to write a story to keep it consistent. Like basically, they had the same level of skill as Vizzy Pop. Vizzy Pop has the same level of skill. These weird Tumblerinas from Ruby, keeping a story together. Like this, they didn't know what to do. It kind of felt like they was kind of putting in things to explain stuff because people asked, and not because we planned it out this way. It's more like okay, well we want this to happen. Okay, how did that happen? Oh, semblance or something. Like why did this guy turn evil? Because he has like this semblance that makes him evil. Okay, sure, all right, whatever. Obviously, you just wanted him to be evil. Obviously, that's the case. And see. Hello to Orange Knight says, good morning, everybody. Hope you're having a pleasant day. Fantastic. Hello to you, Orange Knight. Welcome. Ben Parker says, wait, Harambe's dead. Let's see. Carl Tucker Nerd says, autistic pianist Devrick Paravinci. Let's see here, chat. You got to do better, Senator. Exactly. You need to do better, Senator. Dr. Crow says, thanks for 63 months of support. Thank you much, Dr. Crow says, dicks out for Harambe. Thank you much, Dr. Crow. Appreciate it. Absolutely. Nathan Zozo Ball says it's California. Chances are ideologies would approve of rotten indie games like Mixtape. Uh, Unfortunately, today, yes, that seems to be the overarching ideology. Is like that's cool. We like this one. But what if, like, that'd be really funny if they had like a Republican governor or something, and they decided to sue Australia for the horrific representation of Californians in the 90s. And say, oh yeah, LD, I rewrote the Avatar trilogy into Lawrence of Arabia, Apocalypse Now, and Michael Crichton's techno horror in space. That sounds pretty awesome. That sounds pretty cool. Let's see here, chat. Let's see here. Bill Barker says Lucy Lawless and Renee O'Connor were hot ladies in their day. I would hate to see them replaced with someone woke. Yeah, it's good. That would be like they'll get what's her name, Waller Bridge, there to play Xena or something. Let's see, and then they'll get Melissa McCarthy to play Gabrielle or something like that. Alexander, good morning, good morning, good morning. All right, chat. I came into the Dimension Deal Circus late in the game, saw the whole series in last week. I think stories like these have their place, but shouldn't be the norm. The hero's journey will always be relevant. See, LD, that's true. That is true. I mean, they do have the hero's journey with Pomni in there, who grows from the person that she is in the beginning to a totally different person towards the end, to the point where she's the one kind of like keeping everyone's spirits up. Instead of, her being overwhelmed and sad and everyone else helping her, she becomes the one that helps everyone else. Let's see. LD, they just have a Republican governor in California. They just might have. I heard this. It's pretty close. It's pretty close, actually. Not only will Gavin Newsom be kicked out, but they're going to replace him with a Republican. Let's see. All right, chat. Well, let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. So here we go. All right. So here is a video I found. It says villains are better than heroes. That heroes used to win everything. Now they can't even win us over. And here's why. It's a big issue. It's a big issue. But yeah, the heroes are supposed to be able to win. And like the tradition of heroes was that they won. That's kind of what it is. We know they're going to win, but it was fun seeing them overcome the conflicts and the hardships in order to win. That was fun to see. That was fun to see. By the way, chat, if we make it to $800 by the end of Friday, I spent a long time yesterday setting up OBS and connecting everything and seeing if stuff works. And I'm still not done yet because I can't find some of the videos that I have. Like, I can't find this one. I don't know where that went. I was like, where'd this go? So I'm trying to set everything up so it kind of feels like StreamYards. They have some clips and everything in there. But I will have to do the OBS thing in order to play games, because StreamYards cannot handle games for some reason. Also, the good news about the OBS thing is that I can play you the full versions of the clips of the songs I use, instead of having to crush, because right now I can only show you the crushed down versions of the songs, because StreamYards is like, oh, you can only have 200 megabytes. And every single one of these videos or these songs with the video is like 500, 600, 800 megabytes, because it's like a high quality sound file. The original is very high quality. So with OBS, I can show you the videos in full glory, which is pretty cool. But I'm setting that up, and I will hopefully have it set up soon so I can play a mixtape. But if we do, I'll lock that in. Maybe we can play some mixtape at some point soon, because we do have a full weekend now that we've unlocked Smiling Friends and Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Anyway. All right. Ben Parker says, didn't the creator of Groovy have a series Bible? Why didn't the Tumblerinas follow? Because they're Tumblerinas. You saw what happened with George Lucas. George Lucas gave him like scripts and notes and everything to continue the movies after his original trilogy, like the sequel trilogy, and then tossed it right in the garbage. Right? They said, "Oh yeah, we'll definitely hear this, George Lucas." Yeah, exactly. But and then they said, yeah, we'll take it under advisement. And they did. They took it from him and they threw it right in the garbage. So that's probably what the Tumblerinas who worked on Ruby did. They just they took that Bible that Monty wrote up and tossed that right into the garbage.
Villains become more interesting than heroes.
Because the modern day writers love villains. There's whole podcasts on this, how they love villains. That they villains are way more interesting and they're more invested in it. Meanwhile, they hate heroes because the heroes are supposed to be the winners, right? They're supposed to win. And the idea is that they beat the villains, they outsmart the villains, they overcome these situations that they're in, and they win. That's what their job was, to be the ones that made the right choices that eventually overcame these conflicts. But the coddled millennials who took over, who became the audience and the creators, said they don't like this. They want to they became a toxic form of the 90s attitude. You know, the 90s was like, oh, the 90s attitude was let's question the man, let's question the societal norms, let's do that, let's question these things that that were put in place by some higher up meant to manipulate us. That was kind of the idea. They were questioning the big society, the big corporations, like the guy at the top. That was the idea. But now, you know, the millennials after that, these coddled millennials anyway, started tearing down good things, heroes, heroes being one of them anyway, heroes being one of them, and saying, hey, these heroes are not perfect, they're terrible. Again, we talked about this yesterday, I think, where it's kind of like they wanted these heroes, they needed these heroes to be these perfect icons. And then when they found out that they're not, they became resentful. And it seems to be what happened. And they want to express that. They want to show you like these heroes are not who you think they are. They're imperfect. They have flaws. And that sort of thing. They don't always agree with me on every single political issue. So they went ahead and turned heroes in from winners and guys who like uphold morality and fought bad guys into people teetering on madness, PTSD riddled guys, things like that. So they decided to explore how good and misunderstood villains are and how secretly bad heroes are. Megathon, thanks to the $5 super chat. Thank you very much, Megathon. Appreciate it. Yes. Megathon says, Dumbrinas, wait. This says Blake Strain throws into the garbage. Good morning, LD, and best chat to see the nonsense started this day. Yeah, we're getting started on the nonsense, but yeah, that's exactly what they did, because Monty wanted Team Ruby to be like sisters, not lesbian lovers. So he wanted to be like sisters, like friends, like very close knit friends. And then the Tumblerinas just threw that right in the garbage and said, you know what, Blake and Yang are gay now. It was gay now, all right. Thank you much, Megathon. Appreciate it.
Like, seriously, what happened? Because I think most of us have felt this shift and never really stopped to question it. I mean, we grew up being told the hero was the one to root for, the one to remember, the one the whole story was built around. And
you should. That's kind of what's supposed to be. You're supposed to root for the hero. You're not supposed to root for the bad guy. At least you can like the bad guy. You can think they're cool, but you're not supposed to root for the bad guy. Like, this kind of like the Batman the Animated Series. The Batman the Animated Series had a lot of cool bad guys in there, but you never really rooted for their victory. We weren't supposed to anyway. You're supposed to, you know, we want Batman to win, which allowed the bad guys to be suitably evil, because knowing that Batman would win the end. But you would want Batman to win. Because this Batman was a good Batman. He was in there not to just defeat bad guys, but also to help rehabilitate them if he could. Like Dollface, what's his name? Baby Doll, for example. Like Baby Doll would do evil things, and then he would stop Baby Doll, but want her to get help. Same thing with a lot of the other guys too. Like, he wants Harley Quinn to get better. He wants Edward Nygma to get better. Right? He wants Edward Nygma to get better. He wants all these guys to get better, and he'll fight for their right to access help. Like the one with Lockdown, where the guy goes insane because these guys are evil. Let's just kill them or whatever, or torture them. And Batman / Bruce Wayne is like, no, they need to be treated humanely so they can get better. So it was a good Batman. It was a tough Batman, a thorough Batman, a strong Batman, but a kind Batman, like one who's just so ready to give away whatever he can to just give it all, put it all on the line for Gotham to help even the bad guys with a chance to become a better person. That's who Batman was, and that's what a hero was supposed to be. But they didn't like that. They turned these heroes into these arrogant assholes and villains into poor little victims.
Somewhere along the way, that just...
By the way, keep this in mind too, that this is they've said this on podcasts and discussions, that one, people writing our superhero comics find villains to be way more interesting and cool than heroes because they find heroes morally boring. But second of all, they for some reason relate villains to queer people. Like this, oh yeah, being a villain's like very queer experience. We're demonized and we're hated for no. That's not where you want to go. Stop it. But they said this. I've heard them say this, like, oh yeah, villains are just the queer experience, that sort of thing. I know it's not supposed to really be where you want to go. You want to go with X-Men. Like X-Men had that outcast feeling experience. Like you're an outcast, you're on the outside, you're different than most people, but you can still be a good person. You can still earn their acceptance, their good deeds by showing them that you're a good person. And even if you disagree, like, oh, there shouldn't be prejudice in the first place. Well, tough. That's how the world works. There will always be prejudgment of you, but there's always hope that to overcome this, you show people who you really are. A hero, a good person, someone who is worthy of trust and attention. And that's kind of what X-Men was supposed to be about. Now, the modern day millennial stuff is about like we gotta force people into compliance. We gotta force them to get rid of their prejudices instead of the X-Men way of let me show you. Okay, you have prejudice against me. I understand. Let me show you that I am not to be feared. Let me show you that I am on your side. It's a different mindset in all the way around, but that's how it goes. That's what the beauty of X-Men, at least in the beginning, it was that okay, well, you shouldn't be prejudiced against in the first place. Well, that's the world. That's how the world works. Right? Everyone is going to be prejudging you all over the place, and they hate you because they are prejudging you. Then it's on you to change their minds. All right, it's on you to change their minds if you want their minds changed. Okay, but for some reason, the people who are writing our heroes stories, I talked about this a long time ago in one of the videos, but they would say like, oh yeah, the villains are like being a queer experience, that you're outcast and you're demonized for doing that. Like, no, these are villains. These are not like misunderstood people. These are villains. They do evil things. They're bad guys. Like, what do you mean? But just to keep that in mind, that's where their mindset is. I mentioned that because that's where their mindset is. They don't see villainy; they see outcast. They see someone who is prejudged. All right, they see someone who is demonized unfairly when they see a villain because they equate villainy to the queer experience somehow. And Lily Fessel says, you know what? I'm actually glad I grew up around the vets with military stories, blue collar professions, and variety of people. Probably why I inoculated against all strains, inoculated. It's all strains of social justice BS. Yeah, it's just it's humility. A lot of like this, having some humility, knowing that how hard people work, kind of acknowledging that people work hard, and kind of like humbling yourself in the face of all this knowledge, and kind of like humbling yourself and knowing that you need to do better, that you are not perfect, that you could always learn something more, is the perfect inoculation against this SJW narcissism. Because SJW narcissism is, I'm the bestest ever, I'm the smartest, I'm the most talented, and I'm the one who knows everything, so the world must learn to agree with me. That's kind of the idea behind the SJW millennial narcissism. It's like the SJW millennials think they know everything and that they're smartest and the most enlightened, right? They're the most knowledgeable, the most educated, the most enlightened. And so it's the dumb world that needs to bend to their way of thinking, which is, does that sound familiar to anybody else? This is the millennial character arc. usually shows up in women. It usually shows up in female characters, like Captain Marvel. Like we've noticed this, right? Other people have talked about this, but the millennial character arc is not you becoming a better person, but the world learning to appreciate how awesome you are. That's the millennial character arc. Captain Marvel probably being the most iconic example of this character arc.
Kind of changed. Now, the villain is the most talked about character in the story, the most analyzed, the most defended, the most obsessed over. Whether you love stories or you're actively building your own, your heroes deserve so much better than this. So today, we're going to do a few things. We're going to break the misconception about why this happened, because the obvious answer is actually wrong. Then, we are going to look at both sides of this, what villains have been allowed to keep and what heroes have quietly lost over the years. And then we are going to figure out how to get it back. This is a hero rescue mission. Well, all right, plotheads, let's get into it. Now, for those of you who are new here, I'm Brian. I've spent over a decade in Hollywood working in creative development, reading thousands of scripts, coaching hundreds of writers. Oh, and a fun fact, in the 5th grade, I wrote a 100-page single-space book called I Spy, like E-Y-E, as a writing assignment. We're talking 5th grade. My teacher asked for a short story, and I don't know what happened. Now, I want to address something before we fully dive in, because villains are running the single greatest marketing campaign in modern history. But here's what I actually think is going on. Because the easy answer, the one most people reach for, is that evil is just more compelling than goodness, that darkness wins by default. It's a little edgier. But honestly, I don't buy.
That's kind of the nature of evil. It is kind of cool. It is very tempting. That's kind of why it's such a powerful force. Like, it is very tempting. It is very alluring to people's senses. You get the cool outfits. You get the scantily clad succubi to serve you and everything. It's very intoxicating. It's kind of why it's such a powerful force in Star Wars. You know, the literal force. Like, it's so. Why do people turn to the dark side? It's so evil. Like, why do people just flip a switch in their brains when we're such great heroes? Because the temptation, the evil is so intoxicating that's what it does to you. It just switches something in your mind where, like, this is way better than friends, way better than allies, way better than morality, way better than anything else. This intoxicating drug of power. And being able to take what I want instead of earning what I want. It's very tempting. No series I don't think does is better, or at least one of the best series that goes in the nature of this side of evil is Berserk. Berserk really does this well. It shows you how unfair and how tantalizing evil can be. And when it goes in, and when it approaches you, it'll approach you at the most unfair moment. Like, where you're choosing between, do you want everything? Or do you want to die broken, alone, pathetic, with your dreams never realized? Which one would you rather do? It's a tough choice. Like, Griffith makes that tough choice of, like, would you rather die here pathetic and broken, Griffith, or would you rather become one of the most strongest warriors in history and become higher than kings, becoming a member of the God Hand? Which one would you rather do, Griffith? And his flaw won out, and he said, yeah, I'll take that. I'll become a strong warrior again. I'll sacrifice my friends, my family, and on their blood will fuel my rebirth. So he took that deal. He took that deal. I'm an elder millennial, 85, and hate the generation I'm lumped in with. Yeah, I'm not in the 80s. I'm a 90, but millennial as well, which is why I tend to criticize the generation more, because it's mine.
This complete shift. I mean, Darth Vader has been one of the most iconic characters in cinema since 1977. The Joker has been fascinating in every version he has ever appeared in. Great villains are not new. So that means we need to look at heroes. Because the question is why are heroes not keeping up with villains? And I think it's happened in stages. There was the whole dark and gritty era where deconstructing the hero became the mark of serious storytelling.
You talking to me?
If your protagonist was not broken or compromised, the work felt naive. And then prestige TV gave us Walter White and Tony Soprano, and suddenly the most celebrated characters on television were people doing well,
And the thing about Tony Soprano was that he was not a hero. He was kind of like this the guy we followed around, and we got to see him. We got to see his he got to see his full character. And the thing is, I said a couple of days ago, or maybe last week, that no human character is going to be evil 24/7. Like a lot of these serial killers. You read stories about these serial killers, even some of the most evil ones that we've known. Like they killed what every couple of years. I think some of them might have like a span of 10 years before they killed again. Like the every other time in their lives, they're just normal people. Like usually, like sometimes they're like respected people, they're well beloved people, popular people, and every once in a while, it comes down to 10 years pass or another year passes, and they kill again. They're evil, but the thing is that they're not always evil. There's more to them than just that portion of them that kills people. So when you're following around someone who is a bad guy like Tony Soprano, you do get other sides to him. And the thing is with Tony Soprano, he's fighting people that are worse, that are either just as bad or worse than him. So when it comes down to who you want to root for, you're rooting for the guy with the most morality, the most moral guy, and that would be your villain protagonist. When you have a villain protagonist, that's what you need to do. You need to pair them against someone even worse than they are, usually, or give them a motivation that is somewhat sympathetic. Like if they're going up against heroes, then their motivation needs to be in some way sympathetic, or else it's like, why am I cheering for this guy? But with Sopranos, we do follow around Tony Soprano, and we do see like he has a family, he has these concerns. They try to do right by his mom, even though his mom is psychotic. It's like all of these things, and like we see so many good parts of the guy that we're like, okay, well, we can forgive this one moment of outburst. We can forgive that he's being pressured into doing evil, or maybe he's doing a little bit of evil, but we kind of understand why. It is very compelling. It is very compelling. But people got the idea that villainy is cooler. It's way better to follow around because he's morally ambiguous and he can do evil things. Well, the same thing can happen with heroes. It's just like, there's moments of weakness where they might go off the rails or they might go overboard. This happens to Batman all the time because of all the pressures he's under. But yeah, moral ambiguity became the big thing. Morally gray became the big thing. And it's one thing to have fun exploring this aspect, like exploring a character who's downright evil or morally ambiguous or something like that. But it's another thing to say this is good. This is a better character. This is how characters should be. It's like they're afraid of morality. They shouldn't be.
Genuinely bad things, and heroes got caught in the wake of that, trying to feel more complicated without actually committing to anything. And then the franchise era turned heroes into brands, built to appeal to everyone, offend nobody, stand for everything and nothing at the same time. And look at where that brought us. I mean, right now, Amazon has two of the biggest superhero properties, The Boys and Invincible, both pretty much built around the premise that a hero itself can be the problem, that the cape and the symbol and the moral authority are things to be suspicious of. And those are great shows. But the fact that subverting the hero has become its own genre, kind of telling us something real. So here is what we're going to do. We're going to look at 4 specific areas in story where heroes and villains diverge. 4 forks in the road where they went completely different directions and where heroes got the worst end of the deal. And by the time we get through all 4, I think you're going to see your heroes and the heroes you're writing in a completely different way. But you know what I find really interesting when I look at some of the most talked about villains of the last 20 years? They are almost always the ones actually driving the story. They are the narrative engine, the thing everything else responds to. And the hero, the person we are supposed to be the most invested in, is almost always the one dealing with what the villain started. Villain makes the move, the hero answers, the villain escalates, the hero tries to contain it. And by the time you get to the end of the story, the hero has spent most of it reacting. And I think that is one of the...
It's a big difference here. So this typically is a newbie writer move, typically, where you have a protagonist that is passive, just a reactionary kind of is reacting to whatever is happening around them, being pulled along the story. That is an amateur move. It's I don't know why, but it's kind of tough for someone least someone who's socially awkward, maybe, or whatever, to have a protagonist that is proactive. That's kind of what you want to have. You need to have a proactive protagonist. A protagonist is doing something, not just reacting to something. And yeah, so we have this here. It's like, okay, the villain does something, and then the hero responds to it. And then we have the villain do something, and the hero responds to it. It should be like the villain does something, he responds to it because that's the inciting incident. But then the hero's like, okay, we got to capture this guy. What did we learn from the inciting incident? Okay, we found that, okay, here's this, and this, and this. Like, and then we gotta follow up on these leads. Like, where is he? Where they go? Like, 7 is like that, where we follow around the two detectives as they try to buckle down, and yeah, they react to what they find, but they're really trying to get into the mindset of John Doe, and they're trying to find out like how he moves, how he thinks, or he's going to strike again. Like Somerset is like, yeah, he's going to kill like 7 more times. You know, he's trying to get into the mindset of him. They might not succeed, but they're trying. Like, we follow them around as they proactively try to capture this guy. In the 1990 3 movie Ghost in the Shell, like what did it come out? 90 something. Ghost in the Shell. The whole thing is about them going after a mysterious criminal known as the Puppet Master, right? They don't just sit around and wait for the Puppet Master to react. They're out there making moves. They're out there investigating. Same thing with Ghost in the Shell 2, Innocence. It's about Bato, kind of like his career on the line, that down to the nitty gritty, where he's not even getting help from Section 9 anymore. He's completely on his own with Togusa, trying to take down and uncover this conspiracy by Locus Solus, the company Locus Solus, which I think is Chinese or something like that. But it's really interesting. But Bato is very much proactive in there. Pretty much every Batman animated series episode that centers around Batman, your typical episode, is about Batman being proactive, trying to hunt down the character, the bad guy, trying to uncover their scheme, trying to stop them. This is how it's supposed to go. Okay, it's okay for the bad guy to act first and the good guy to react to it. That's your inciting incident. But from that point on, the hero needs to start making moves. Because a lot of writers today are like, oh man, the hero sucks and boring, and the villain is so cool. It's the villain making moves, which is not supposed to be the case. Yeah, the villain is supposed to be making moves, but so is the hero. It can't just be the hero reacts, the hero reacts, the hero reacts. That's kind of what makes it so cool. Like John Wick. I can bring back John Wick here. Is that he's reacting sometimes, but also he's making moves too. Like he goes in there with John Wick 3, like where it gets kind of crazy, and he goes to it's 2. It's 2. John Wick 2. He goes to the Bowery King, and he makes the move to go there. Otherwise, he's going to be this running from all the assassins. So he makes a move to go there, and he goes on the offensive to go after D'Antonio at his coronation to the High Table. He makes these proactive moves. Your hero is supposed to do that. But yeah, he's right. There's a lot of these modern day things where the hero is just reacts to whatever the villain does. Just a very passive protagonist, which is a very, very amateurish thing to do. But also, I think it shows us that the writers of today are more invested in having the villains do things than the heroes.
Quieter reasons the gap opens up. Because when you are always the one reacting, you start to feel defined by whoever you're reacting to. The villain stays surprising because we're always waiting to see what they will do next. I mean, let's think about some great villains. Let's think about No Country for Old Men, Coen Brothers.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
Javier Bardem. Genuinely one of the most unsettling films ever made.
Like, I know there's a lot of issues with BBC Sherlock. I have a lot of issues with BBC Sherlock. I used to like it, but then I thought about it, and it's not that great of a show. It is actually pretty abysmal in a lot of terms. However, credit where credit is due, there is one called The Great Game. Now, it's not that great of a show. It's not that great of an episode. But what they do have happen is the setup is like this. The setup is exactly like this. It's basically the first time we have Moriarty go up against Sherlock Holmes directly. So we have there's a series of things, a series of calls where, we have the first one might be the Moriarty saying, okay, calling this lady and saying, okay, I want you to talk to Sherlock and say that he only has like so much time to save you and before you blow up. So basically, he's going under the guise of a mad bomber, and yeah, it very much is the heroes reacting to what the villain does, what Moriarty does. However, there is a point in that episode where Sherlock is like, it reveals later on that he's like 2 steps ahead now. Like, I know what the next one is, or something like he got ahead. Like Watson gets angry at him because what he tells him that I already figured out this whole thing a long time ago. Like Sherlock Holmes says to Watson, I figured this out a long time ago, but and I figured it out early. But because I figured it out early, I could use some of the time left before letting everyone else that solved it to do some investigating of my own. So he gets ahead of the curve here by, at least he thinks he is, I think, by pulling a move like that, where Watson's like, why didn't you just save him immediately? Because that would kind of keep him on the leash and say, and have him, that would keep them on the leash, because then once Moriarty knows that person's been saved, he's going to go on to the next one, right? So Sherlock Holmes knows this whole thing and goes, okay, well, I'll keep that guy in danger for a little bit more, for a little bit longer, so I can do some extra investigating to see how I could stop this guy. That's what I mean by proactive protagonist. All right, he's not just reacting. He's not just solving the clues. He's like, I solved the clue, but then I'm taking the charge against him. All right, I'm taking the an aggressive move against him. It's a Megathon additional $5 super chat. Thank you very much. Yes. And see here. What people are not understanding proactivity, reactivity. The hero's activity also makes him and the antagonist react. Yeah. So it's supposed to be like a back and forth, cause and effect. The bad guy reacts, or the bad guy acts, and the hero reacts. That's typically your inciting incident. And then, we have the hero take charge. It's basically every Columbo episode, right? The Columbo reacts to the murder, but then the murderer kind of has to react to whatever the hell Columbo's doing, because it could never pin him down. He's always just buzzing around him, never giving him a moment's peace. Let's see your chat. Anyway,
the villain is Anton, and to me, he is still the single most terrifying character ever put on screen. I think it's how inevitable he feels. Like, he has this worldview completely his own, completely specific about fate and chance and whether people deserve what comes to them. And he just sort of moves through the story like a wrecking ball. And that quality, a character so alive that the narrative bends around them, well, we have been giving that almost exclusively to villains. Now I want to flip this over to the hero side, because there is something I believe deeply. Heroes come in all...
No Country for Old Men works because it is a flip. There is no real hero in No Country for Old Men. Like, Llewellyn is not really like a hero. He's not your typical protagonist. So he's very self-involved. Like, he stole some money. That's it. The whole thing about him is that he's not trying to stop any cartels or save anyone's life. He selflessly stole money that got him in trouble, him and his entire family in trouble with the cartels, and essentially killed by the cartels. So here's the thing. No Country for Old Men works because because Anton Chigurh has a strange sense of morality. He essentially is the hand of judgment. He'll kill anyone. He'll make anyone pay. He's a hand of fate, and that's what gives him some leeway here. That's kind of what gives him some leeway. Like, he is this unnegotiating, unrelenting hand of fate and of death, and Llewellyn escapes him. Llewellyn is able to outfight him and flee and escape him a little bit. It's like he died. Llewellyn literally escapes fate in there. So it's not about bad guys are cool. It's about the aspect of the idea of a man outrunning fate, outrunning death for his own selfish whims. And eventually he does end up dead, but not by Chigurh's hands, but like, he does end up dead by some other method of fate, which goes against, Anton Chigurh's kind of like monopoly. Like, he thinks he has a monopoly on being the guy that deals out fate, but he isn't. This was his prey, but someone else got him first. So it's not about heroes are dumb and villains are cool and No Country for Old Men. It's about the hand of fate versus man. That's kind of what the confrontation is, the conflict is. And the reason why Anton Chigurh is so effective at this is because he is kind of amoral when it comes to traditional morality. So that is compelling, but only because, but not because he's a villain, because what he represents as a character. Same thing with Llewellyn. Llewellyn is a representative of a regular guy in an extraordinary situation, and Anton Chigurh is the personification of fate, the amoral, uncaring, neutral personification of fate. So he seems evil, but only because he personifies a concept that is amoral, and it's very interesting.
Shapes and sizes. They do not
But that's why it works in No Country for Old Men, because you're kind of invested in the concept of what Chigurh represents and versus what Llewellyn represents.
always wear capes. They're not always in action movies. And the example I want to use could not be further away from Anton if it tried. Now, this is about a character that actually does warp the story a bit. Erin Brockovich. If you haven't seen it, incredible real story starring Julia Roberts. A woman with no law degree, no credentials, no obvious reason to be anyone's problem. And Pacific Gas and Electric, massive company, had to completely reorganize around her. She kept finding things, kept escalating things. She would not stop, and she was completely unpredictable. I mean, from inside that corporation, she was the nightmare. She was the disruptive force that they could not contain. So from their perspective, Erin Brockovich was the villain of their story. And that is the big tip I want you to take into building your hero. Literally step into your villain's shoes right now and look at your hero from the side. Do they feel like a problem? Do they force the villain to change plans, to respond to something that they didn't see coming? Because if your hero only becomes a threat in the final act, and they spend most of the story reacting or cleaning up a mess, probably not as alive as they could be. Because a lot of heroes that stay with people are the ones who also warp the story too. They are the villain's villain. And once you start writing them that way, everything will start to change. But that is just the first place the path split. Because even when heroes are disruptive, even when they're making things happen, they can still fall a bit flat, especially against something as compelling as a villain. And I think I know why. Now, here is something that I think explains a lot about why certain villains just stay with you. Think about what they actually want. This is separate from whatever their plan.
And see, that represents a man's actions coming back to bite him in the ass. Yes, it's exact, because at least in the movie, I remember the movie most of all because I read the book once, and look, admittedly, Cormac McCarthy is tough for me to read, not because of the content, because they're his writing style. All right, his writing style is like it's very beautiful and verbose, but it's tough for me to read. Okay, so I can't remember it as clearly as I can in other books, but I remember the movie pretty vividly in a lot of senses. And the thing is with Llewellyn, it's his selfishness is what gets him into trouble. It's kind of like fate coming back to bite him because of his selfish actions. Like he comes across this money, chooses to take it. It's not his. Was it ill-gotten gains? Yes, but it's not his. Like, it's wrong to just take this money, and he knows it's wrong. And it's like he's taking this money and willingly putting his family in danger, himself in danger, above everyone else, just because of some greed. And then he gets himself into this huge amount of trouble with the mob or with the cartels, and gets Anton Chigurh on his trail, which is basically like a death sentence. So yeah, the whole story is that, yeah, Anton Chigurh might be bad, but Llewellyn is representative of a man who made wrong decisions, selfish decisions. So that's what makes it so interesting.
Or their scheme, but really, what is personally at stake for the villain? What do they get out of it? What would they lose if they...
The Force says, Dr. E. Wright, the Force says, good morning, LD and Beshad. Have you heard the news? Chaotic Good Barbarian got a new episode on May 30th? Or was getting an episode on May 30th? Oh, very cool. Can't wait to see it.
They failed. And I want to start with a villain who actually wanted to be a hero, who showed up with everything he had and was basically told,
fly home, buddy. I work alone.
We're talking about Syndrome from The Incredibles, a kid who showed up in front of his idol with gadgets he built himself, genuine excitement, and got turned away. That rejection became the engine of everything that happens after. He built an entire evil empire around proving one moment wrong. So what does Syndrome want? to matter, to be chosen, to make the person who rejected him feel irrelevant. And then there is a different kind of villain entirely, one who once never considered that what she was doing was villain.
It's kind of interesting because Scarlet Witch is a villain in this movie, but also they really want her to be a hero. Like, oh, she's such a victim. Like, yeah, she was pushed to being evil. She's like they kind of treat her like Old Yeller. That's kind of what it is. Like, they write her like the same way we would write Old Yeller. Like, oh no, she has to be put down, but like it's so sad and tragic. Like, it's not. She's just evil.
A hero who crossed a line so gradually and painfully that she never even
You sly dog. You got me monologuing. Exactly. And Syndrome was pretty effective as a villain.
felt herself cross that line. And that is Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. I mean, she just wants her family back, her brother, her children, Vision, the life that kept getting taken from her. In fact, she would rewrite reality itself just to get it. And at the same time, you understand every single step of it because the want is so human, it breaks your heart even while she's breaking everything else. And this is the thing I find really interesting is that you always know what they get out of it. Now, try that same question with your hero. What does your hero actually get out of this? Not the mission, not just their sense of duty.
I guess to go over all this, like this is the most basic aspects of writing a story, but he has to go over all this because they don't know. So many of these high-paid professional writers have been making stories without considering the most basic aspects of making a basic story.
Something personal. What is at stake for them that belongs?
Like, have you considered giving your characters motivations that are not cringe? Have you considered, like, giving them actual deep motivations other than your personal fetishes or something?
Belongs to no one else. And I want you to sit with that because when I ask that question about a lot of heroes, the answers can get kind of murky really fast. The personal basically gets replaced by duty. The want got replaced by a mission. And we call that heroism when really what we made was a character with nothing really inside them for them. I mean, there's even Katniss Everdeen. You might think that her idea is to take down the Capitol, to win the Hunger Games, but it's actually something entirely different. She wants to save her little sister Prim.
And that was it. I didn't watch any of the Hunger Games movies, but I did read the book, the first book, which I think was fine enough on its own. It was pretty good. I like the first book. I think it should have ended there. But the first book was pretty compelling, I have to say. I really liked reading that one. But yeah, her main motivation was it wasn't to fight the man. It was just to save her little sister. That was an interesting part of her character. The story is that her little sister, I think, was either going to be chosen or was chosen, and she goes, I volunteer as tribute in order to become the girl from her district that goes. I think like what Gail, or I think it was Peta. I think it was Peta that goes as the boy, but she became the girl for the district because she volunteered for tribute instead of her sister. So that's her main motivation. It's very human, the human stakes, the human cost is what really compels the reader and the audience to invest. And see that Nathaniel Zuzabal says, Professor Geek said it best when he brought up 4 basic archetypes: the aspirational and cathartic motivational heroes, and the elemental, evil, and fallen villains. Very cool. Very cool.
And go home. It's so ordinary next to starting a revolution. And that ordinary is exactly what makes it so powerful. She never asked for any of this. She picks the whole thing up for the most personal reason possible.
Yeah, the idea is that your hero is basically pushed to doing the extraordinary instead of that's their main goal, right? So like that's why it's so weird when a lot of these millennial commie whatever type people, coddled millennials, come in and the whole thing is just let's go to war, let's do revolution, yeah, we're gonna fight back against the man. Because it's so overblown, it's so childish. They just jump right to revolution, and that's their whole aspect. It's mixtape. It's mixtape essentially, right? It's mixtape. It's like we're just rebelling against the man, yeah. When really, what you really want to have in your character is why are they really doing this? For what reason are they doing what they're doing? Like Harry Potter, for example, and I know this because I read all the 7 books recently, is that his whole thing is that he is going to fight Voldemort, but he does not want to fight Voldemort. That's the last thing he wants to do. Harry Potter really just wants to go to class and get his wizarding degree or whatever. But the step up from that what he really wants to do is defend his family. He wants to defend Ron, Hermione, Hagrid, Dumbledore, McGonagall. He wants to defend Hogwarts. He wants to protect his friends. That's what he really wants to do. So, the reason why Harry does any of this is to protect those he loves. He's not like, I want to go fight Voldemort so I can become a great hero. That's like millennial coddled thinking. Like, my character's going to go and rise up against the evil king. It could just reminds me of that D&D session I heard of. It was kind of funny, where the DM had them meet the king, and the king is like, "Oh yeah, there's a lich I want you to go fight. So go fight that lich and take him down before he completes his ritual and raises like a giant army, right?" And then the main character, I assume was a girl, was like, "Excuse me, is gay marriage allowed in this kingdom?" Like, he's like, "I don't think so. It's like a medieval era kingdom, so probably not." Oh, well then let's go overthrow the king so that we can get gay marriage on the docket. And then the whole campaign moved away from the lich and became about overthrowing the king and changing it, which eventually led to them changing the monarchy to like a democracy so they can vote to change the law to allow gay marriage. And it was like that became the entire campaign. So that's kind of the coddled millennial ideals. Like, these guys are mean and they're homophobic or whatever. So we got to topple the government. Let's go right to that. It's some other abstract thing that makes them feel good, as opposed to something real, something human. Yes, and then, of course, what's funny is that that session ended with the DM going, "Okay, you successfully overthrown the king, installed democracy, and now gays can get married in this area. That's good. You can celebrate that for like 10 minutes before the wave of undead just stomps all over you because I told you there was a lich." You did not stop the lich. You were too concerned with gay marriage. Yeah, the best part of the lich kills them all because there was still a lich. He didn't just go away because he wanted to have a revolution to instill gay marriage in the town or the kingdom. He was still doing his ritual. I'm helping as the kingdom burns. Yeah, like that's peak millennial. Except millennial mindset does not have like, if a millennial had written that, a coddled millennial had written that, it would be the lich just pops out of existence because it's way more important for them to fight for gay marriage. Well, then they all die, which is pretty funny. But that's it. Like, how this Everdeen is not like, okay, I'm going to volunteer for tribute so I can go fight the bad guys and kill the president and start rebelling against the system and the man. No, her motivation is, I want to save my sister. Harry Potter's motivation is, I want to protect my friends, which becomes more and more apparent as the books go on, where he breaks up with Ginny Weasley, who he's in love with and who she is in love with him. Like, he just breaks up with her because he knows that he has to go on this dangerous mission and he might not come back. So he wants her to be free to do whatever she wants without having to worry about him. It doesn't work out that way. They do end up together in the end, but that's Harry's mindset. Like, he wants to make sure all of his friends are as out of danger as possible, especially after he lost his parents, he lost Sirius Black. He doesn't want to lose any more people. It's so painful to lose all these people that he made friends with that he would rather himself get maimed and scarred and killed as opposed to feel another death, another loss of that nature. So that's kind of where it all is. Like, you can go to Pulp Fiction. Remember Pulp Fiction, that movie by Tarantino? Like, one of the most compelling stories is the one with the watch. That's the more memorable ones. Like, his dad kept the watch up his ass for like 10 years. But thing is, he wants to go get the watch. Like, it's such a small thing that even though there's all these guys hunting him down, wanting his blood, that he goes to get this watch. Not because the watch is particularly important, but because it represents not only his dad, but the sacrifice that his dad made. The sacrifice that was made. That's what it is. That's what it's the representation of it. It's his dad. It's his family. It's not only his dad, but the integrity of his father. That's what it was, and the sacrifice of his father's friend, of course. But that's the human element of it. You need a human element, right? So it's so coddled millennial to just have your character go after the big stuff for like no reason other than it's really cool to do so. But the the real reason should be very human. And Candace Everdeen does this. She has her human connection. Harry Potter does. Like all these big cool characters have a human connection that drives them, as opposed to this. It's just pretty cool for me to fight the man.
And the story keeps expanding what it costs until it eventually costs her the thing.
And my Twitch got nuked, unfortunately, because the company's like, "Oh, you're watching our stuff." Like, even though I was pausing and discussing and commentating, they decided to nuke my Twitch for some reason.
She most wanted to protect. And that lands because her want was real and specific from the very beginning. Same as Syndrome, same as Wanda. The difference is just which side of the story are they on? So here's what you can do for your stories. Go back to your hero. Can you answer that question as clearly as you can for Syndrome or Wanda? Do you know what they personally want? Getting that right will help you enormously. But it still does not fully explain why some heroes with real, genuine want can still feel somehow interchangeable with every other hero out there. I think that comes from something even deeper than this. Now, I want to talk about a little thing, maybe you guys have heard of it, called plot armor. And look, if you spend
here we go.
any time on YouTube or in the comment sections, you already know this term. It is one of the most complained about things in all of storytelling. And for good reason, because the moment it shows up, you feel it immediately. It is like that scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood where Leo just pointed the screen and whistles, here I come. Because the moment you sense that invisible protective bubble around a character, the story is not going to let anything really happen to them. Stakes start to feel a little fake. And fake stakes are the beginning of the audience turning a different direction.
Like when it's really overt, when the plot armor is really overt, it does kind of feel that way. Like nothing could really happen to them. It's kind of it. So like if everyone's like if your hero is in like a situation and everyone ends up dead because of an explosion or something like that, but only your hero survives, it really does kind of take you out of the situation. Like why is he alive? How did my hero survive? Now, sometimes it can be explained. Like there's a moment in the original Halo game where you crash land and everyone else in your pod on Halo gets killed. Like when you crash land on Halo, they all get killed, but only Master Chief survives. But the reason why he survives is because he's a Spartan. Like he has like this extra powerful armor. The other guys are just regular soldiers, so it makes sense there. But it was like if everyone's on an even playing field, and like the evil alien decides to kill the guy next to the hero, but not the hero himself, like why? So when it comes like really overt, and it's really obvious that the main character is being protected because of plot armor, it does take away from the story. Yeah.
And I find it really fascinating that villains almost never have this problem. I mean, think about Anakin Skywalker. Here is a man who loses everything in the process of trying to protect everything. His mother, his mentor, the woman he loved, his children. The more desperately he reaches for control, the more the story keeps taking from him. And that consumption is exactly what makes his fall feel genuinely tragic. The story treats them like it treats real life. It did not protect them from the consequences of who they are and what they want. And that is exactly what makes them feel real. Now, to build off the villain example, I want to show you a hero who was given no plot armor whatsoever. And I want to talk about one of my favorite TV shows of the last few years. Actually, one of my favorite things the Star Wars franchise
Andor
has ever produced. I'm talking about Andor, of course, and its star character.
Yeah, everyone keeps saying this is really good. I gotta watch it again.
Cassian Andor. He starts the show doing morally questionable things just to survive. Gets pulled into a rebellion he did not ask for, loses people on the first mission, tries to walk away and gets wrongfully arrested and thrown into prison where the floors are literally electrified and inmates are unknowingly building components for the Death Star. And then there's this conversation with Luthen, the man running this rebellion from the shadows, where Cassian essentially puts it all on the table.
Kill me or take me in.
Because there is no safe road left. No version of this where he walks away clean. And that's where we get worried about him. We don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know who's safe and who's not. It exposes him the same way it exposes Anakin. And we feel every bit of it because we believe the stakes were real the whole time. All right, now let's get brutally honest with your story and your character.
Here's the thing. So I call it the I personally call it the Die Hard principle. And because I learned it from Die Hard. And that is, in Die Hard, you know he's going to win, right? You kind of know he's going to win. You just don't know how he's going to win. But you know he's going to win. He overcomes like so many weird like things that he should have died from. So it kind of feels like he does have a little bit of plot armor. But it's kind of convincing, I guess, a little bit because he's tough. But here's the thing. Here is the thing. And I learned this from Die Hard. And that is he bleeds, right? He feels the effects of the things that he's going through. It's not like he just encounters an explosion and then just comes out clean. Like every single time he encounters the bad guys, he comes out with a new wound. He's bleeding a little bit more. He's getting worse and worse for wear as the movie goes on. And what I saw someone do a review on this a long time ago. I think when I was in high school or something like that. It really affected me and kind of why I call this the Die Hard principle. And that is, you got to make your characters bleed. To bleed is human. Like, you remember, like in 300, where like he destroyed Xerxes not by throwing a spear into him, but like making him bleed, because gods don't bleed. That's what humans do. Gods don't have blood. That's why gods demand blood sacrifices from humans. That's kind of the idea. But gods don't bleed. So when John McClane goes through his whole thing, right? When John McClane goes through his trouble at the Nakatomi Tower, he encounters several incidents and several conflicts, and he starts bleeding. We can see him bleed. We can see him limp. We can see him like just get sweaty and tired. This helps alleviate the whole plot armor thing. Like, okay, maybe he survived that crazy nonsense, but he came out wounded. So he kind of want. So the principle is you want to make your main characters bleed. You want to show that they're human, that they're mortal, and that goes a long way to saying, "Oh man, this guy's in trouble." And we all see this in John Wick. Like John Wick goes through so many incredible things, right? It goes through so many incredible things. Some of them are like they get less and less believable as the movies go on. But the thing is, what else did they do? He's bleeding. He's got wounds everywhere. He's taking hits. He's limping throughout the streets, and like you can tell that he's in serious pain throughout the movies, but still keeps going. And so that is pretty compelling. That's the part where it's like, okay, he still feels human despite all the inhuman things that he does.
Characters, and do not lie, because this is one of the hardest things to break as a writer. Is the story protecting your hero? Are you protecting your hero? Does the audience already sense that there's some sort of invisible force field around them in their life? Because the moment your character feels safe from consequence, that's when the villain takes over the room. All right, guys, now the final one. And this one I have been thinking about the longest. I just told you to be honest and not lie about your character. And the funny thing about honesty, something that villains are actually really good at, which kind of sounds surprising, right? But honestly, they are ones that get to tell the truth. Really.
Jim Parker says, "Dag nabbit LD, I have these singing the story of John McClane." Die Hard song, fantastic. It's a good movie. It's a really good movie.
Ugly truth, the rot underneath the surface, the hypocrisy nobody is acknowledging, the thing the world has agreed to keep pretending is not there, and they just say it. They represent it, and they come out against it. Now, let's talk about some of the Hall of Fame villains that might be evil, but aren't entirely wrong. So first, let's think of Ozymandias in Watchmen. He looks...
Oh, here we go. I don't think he's right at all. Ozymandias is an idiot. His arrogance is what leads his Reddit style Reddit-tier arrogance is what leads him to his conclusions. Like, does it save the world? I don't know. We don't know, actually. It makes peace. Like, but the peace is brought on by a lie, though. I don't. I feel it kind of feels like if this wasn't I don't know, done in the right way, that lefties would leftists and SJWs and called them millennials would be like, this is awful, this is terrible. But because it kind of feels like something they like, you know, they like the moral ambiguity of it. It's fine with them. But remember, he basically nukes the entirety of New York in order to like trick everyone into a peace based on the idea that an alien invasion is imminent. That's it. So even when the first time I read it, I was like, wait a minute. But what happens when it doesn't happen? Like, what happens when the alien invasion doesn't actually happen? Because it's not a real alien. He made it. Like, he made it in a lab. So what happens when there is no alien invasion? Right? What happens when everything's going to start to tear down? So did he make peace? Yes. For now. But when everyone realizes that, okay, there's no real alien invasion, everyone's going to relax their guard and they will forget. And hostilities once everything has gone by, like maybe it might even be a few years, but now everything is gone. Time has passed, and there's no alien invasion, not even a sign of it. Then what's going to happen? Like it's a temporary piece. He put on a bandage. He didn't fix the problem. He just delayed it. So was he right? If you're thinking about like if he's right because he made temporary peace, okay, maybe a little bit, but ultimately he was wrong. That's why Rorschach was about truth, right? The truth was a lot stronger of a narrative. Truth was a lot stronger of a power. Like those people didn't have to die if they could have stuck to the truth. Now the world was like on the brink of destruction. However, the thing is, it does give you that ambiguous question, like should we have peace now to save the world, or just let it all play out? I guess that's kind of what the choice became. But the reality is, yes, it ends in peace. But even Ozymandias has to ask himself in the end, like, I did do the right thing, right? Did I do the right thing? Like, he's asking Dr. Manhattan because Dr. Manhattan can see the future, essentially. He's like the puppet that can see the strings. So, Dr. Manhattan, I don't think Dr. Manhattan gives him like a really good answer, but Ozymandias has to question himself, like, I did do the right thing, right? Because he was supposed to be a man with very strong ethics, but he betrayed those ethics in order to pull off this incredible scheme that involved basically nuking New York and killing tons of people to trick everyone into a peace that has no possibility of lasting. Let's see. Nathaniel Sosa says Ozymandias, the man who engineered a false alien invasion to unite the world. Yeah, that's him. Wolf Spade is the 18 months supports his peace through a lie fails because the truth comes out. Yeah, first of all, the truth comes out because of Rorschach, because he like put his journal into the news cycle, I guess. But also the whole thing would have fallen apart anyway when everyone starts realizing there wasn't really an alien invasion imminent. Gotta get just look how Democrats keep claiming global warming, climate change. Yeah, at least that's an enemy that can say, oh, actually, it's almost here now. Like the winter is coming. Let's see. Vegas Feeder says Ozymandias' plan is just pains from Marudo. I don't think I made it that far, but it could be. Let's see. And then Leslie Mills says Ozymandias had a point, but he blinded himself to the big picture. Villains largely have a point, but they don't know the whole truth. That's the tragedy of it. That's kind of why I often say that a villain is a hero who has failed a temptation test, because they still know what needs to be done. They still have a good head on their shoulders, more or less, but they're looking at things through a warped point of view because they have failed a temptation test. Like they're looking through things from a viewpoint that has become infatuated with greed or gluttony or lust or whatever, pride, whatever. So Ozymandias' thing is pride, because he prides himself on being like the smartest guy on earth, like the smartest guy alive. That's the whole thing. Like he's rich, he's powerful, he's influential, he's very popular, and he's known as the smartest guy alive. And so it's easy to understand why a guy like that would become infatuated with his own pride.
At humanity and concludes, we are going to destroy ourselves and nobody is going to do anything about it. That might hit a little close to home. So he does something monstrous. And what makes him so unsettling, more than anything else in that film, is that you cannot fully dismiss what he's saying. You can hate what he did and still feel the weight of his diagnosis. Now, that is what happens when you give a character real clarity about the world. They become the most serious person in the story. Or
like, doesn't this happen in anime too? Right? Like the thing is, this is what's so interesting about two guys who have the same conclusions but have different viewpoints on the conclusion, right? Like two different sides of the same philosophy. Like they could want the same things. This is kind of where we get the whole "we're not so different, you and I," right? Because sometimes even though it's a cliche now, like sometimes it is true that the hero and the villain are very similar in a lot of ways. We get this in Harry Potter again, where we're Voldemort and Harry were both outcasts that kind of fell at home in Hogwarts, et cetera and so forth, but they want different things. Sometimes they want the same thing, but again, for different reasons. They want, for different reasons, or they want to get there in a different way. Was it Like one guy, like the main character, the hero would usually want more freedom, like the Shishio versus Kenshin. Like they don't want the same thing, but they have these opposing philosophies that are very interesting. And yeah, Shishio has a point too. Like Shishio has his mentality is the inalienable law of nature. If you're strong, you live. If you're weak, you die. Which is actually true in nature, and does provide an opportunity for everyone to get stronger. Now, while Kenshin is like, no, everyone deserves the right to live. Now, you can oddly enough, you could disagree with Kenshin, like, no, but Shishio has a point. Why should these weaklings get to live? Are they just going to drag everyone else down? That's kind of the question of. That's the question you get with Shishio. Like Shishio has this question, like, why, if you are weak, why should you live? It doesn't make any sense. And then again, it's a very warrior mentality. Meanwhile, Kenshin's like, everyone should live in peace. So that's kind of it's very interesting how these two men who walk the same path have now come to just completely opposite conclusions. And so, yeah, Professor X and Magneto, they kind of want peace and prosperity for mutant kind, but they have a different way of getting there. Like Magneto, Professor X wants to do this through charity and altruism. I made my mutants, my X-Men, to go save people's lives and things like that, to go save the world, to show humanity that the mutants are not to be feared that much, to know that there are good mutants, that they can be helpful, they can be useful. Magneto, on the other hand, wants the same thing, but he wants to do it through force. He wants to take over the world and instill and embrace, I should say, the superiority of Homo superior over humanity. Okay, 620. Hello to you. Good morning, LD and chat. How's it rolling? Pretty good, pretty good. And seeing Ben Parker says, yeah, but you would but would the TDO still ask that question when he gets an injury he can't recover from and makes him weak? I don't know. I mean, Shishio? Yeah, I think he's like, you know what? I just die because I've become too weak. I've fallen. The JJ says foils are useful, but the characters need to be similar enough to make a point. Yes, absolutely.
As another example,
and usually your foil needs to be like somebody else. Like your foil is like the best friend or a different villain. That's you kind of want the main villain to be a reflection of your hero.
Chef Slowik in the menu.
Oh, yes. All right. Fantastic. Awesome. Yes, sir.
Genuinely one of the most surprising films I've seen in recent years. So please go check.
Yeah, I agree.
Check it out. He's basically spent his whole life as a chef, waiting for people who consume and consume and consume without ever actually being present for what they're consuming, not actually creating, not contributing. And the whole film is him making this accusation directly. Every course, this indictment. And he's not completely wrong. Maybe the way he goes about it. But as someone who loves MasterChef and Alton Brown's Good Eats, this movie completely sent a shock through me. Because when a villain's truth lands on you personally, we just cannot look away from it the same way. Now, here was what's really going on when we flipped this to heroes. Heroes got trapped on the other side of this equation. They became the protectors of the comfortable version of the world, defending what exists, restoring what got broken, and there's nothing.
When the Millennials took over, the Colin Millennials took over, we went from heroes as these icons of morality to they're just cops. That's what they called them. When we got these Millennials taking over superhero comics, they just called them cops. That's it. They just called them cops. It's a Glitchy Okies in the 5. What's it called? A rant? I think called rants over here on Rumble. Which Glitchy Oki says, how do you do the Die Hard effect if it's a kid's show? Media known for not showing blood. How do you achieve the same effect? You don't have to show blood necessarily, but you have to show them that they're human. So, like Avatar does this by having Aang have a scar on his back, have him bandaged up. Have them have they had one episode where Katara gets sick, or I think Sokka gets sick as well. So. And that's it. Basically, it's a show. You don't need to show blood exactly, but to show the person is human, and you can show them they're human by having them get hurt, having them receive injuries. Like it kind of feels like a lot of time Aang is invincible because he is the Avatar, and that can he get hurt? How much damage can he take? But when he gets killed, essentially killed in season 2, and we get to see that he is very mortal. He is a very mortal person. He's kind of a normal person with extraordinary powers, but he can still die. He's still essentially mortal. So that's kind of what you want to go with. If you were running a kids show, you don't have to show blood, but you can have them like, bandaged up, or have a scar that lingers from a previous battle.
Wrong with that.
Thank you very much, Kelsey. Appreciate it.
But when the villain is consistently the one exposing the uncomfortable truth, and the hero is the one only defending what's familiar, something starts to feel a little off. The villain feels sharper, more honest, more like this.
It's kind of why the millennials have come in, and they kind of named superheroes as cops, and that they protect the status quo blindly. That's kind of the idea. They want to frame superheroes as protecting the status quo blindly. And I think you kind of see this in Black Panther, but you kind of see this in some of the SJW works, like America's Sweetheart by Black AF. It's like you are protecting the establishment, you are protecting the oppressors, blindly, as if superheroes will defend anything as long as the status quo, instead of using the morality to gauge what is right and what is wrong. But that's the narrative they want to push, that these superheroes are just representative of the oppressor. They are guarding and safeguarding the status quo, which needs to be changed, because the mindset of the coddled millennial is that they're all communists and need to lead a revolution to change everything into communism. So therefore, superheroes are bad guys because they defend the status quo against the valiant revolution. And see,
story is actually being told through them.
But yeah, in reality, Batman goes after corrupt cops too. Like the superheroes, they will go after anyone evil in reality. Like the actual story of superheroes, they'll go after corrupt cops, they'll go after corrupt CEOs, they'll go after corrupt politicians, they'll go after corrupt anybody. All right. And so it goes. In fact, the way that Frank Miller shows Superman undergoing a certain level of corruption. Now, Superman is still good, but he's undergoing a certain level of corruption is by making him a lackey to the president in Dark Knight Returns. So he just becomes like a blind presidential lackey. But in that case, it was an unusual aspect of Superman. Like, it's an unusual depiction of Superman. Like, it's not your typical Superman. It's very weird that he's becoming this lackey to the president. But but everyone has become a little bit weird and a little bit altered by that time, because everyone's older and things have gone downhill and everyone's becoming a little bit more corrupt and stuff like that. So in this case, Superman has come to the conclusion that it's the world of humanity. I'm here to safeguard it and make sure that it remains peaceful so that everyone can grow in a peaceful society, and not to question. And therefore, he serves the president blindly. That was a depiction of Superman to show that he has become on some level corrupt. That's not supposed to be the mainstay of a superhero, which has been embraced. That version has been embraced by the coddled millennial as the typical iteration of superhero, that they will always blindly defend the status quo.
Is the heroes that really resonate almost always carry an uncomfortable truth of their own. And I want to talk about this with Spirited Away for a second, because I think it's one of the greatest animated movies ever made.
Spirited Away is pretty good. It's one of the better ones.
Generally one of the movies I have watched the most in my life. Now, if we look at the central character, she is this child moving through a world that has completely lost its way, where her parents are turned into pigs for mindless consumption, where everyone has forgotten their own name, where the whole system is designed to make people anonymous and replaceable. And she just keeps seeing people as they actually are, remembering names when the world has made forgetting easy, caring about individuals in a place that has made everyone sort of a function. She never announces the truth. She just sort of lives it, and change happens around her. I mean, in addition to that, think about Mulan from Disney. I mean, she literally carries the truth that worth is not determined by what you were assigned at birth. Now, neither of them is defending the comfortable version of the world. Both of them are carrying something the world does not want to hear. And that is what gives them the same weight as any villain we have talked about today. So think about your hero right now. What truth are they carrying that the world doesn't want to hear? What is the uncomfortable thing they see that everyone else is pretending is not there? Because a hero with that kind of truth makes it really mean something and creates an incredible counterweight to your villain on the other side. Well, all right, plot heads, we did it. We went through 4 places where heroes and villains diverged. And here is what I think is going on underneath all of it. We have historically drawn a line, good and evil, hero and villain, and we often put the interesting things on the villain side. And we told ourselves that that's what a villain looked like. So we scrubbed it out of our heroes because heroes are supposed to be good, and good we decided meant none of those things. But here is what I find really fascinating when I sit with the stories that actually stay with people. The line has never been that clean. There's a person beneath the duty. There is something the villain sees that's not entirely wrong, even when everything they do with it is. There is something the hero is getting wrong, even when they're completely on the right side. And I think when we stopped letting our heroes live in that complexity, when we managed and protected and filed them down into a symbol of good, we did not.
It's a weird thing that happened where they, for some reason, the memories or the perception of superheroes in America became that of everything's perfect all the time. These are perfect characters, and they can't possibly have interesting internal conflicts or anything. But I want to show you something here, chat. I want to show you something, a scene that was all the way back from the 90s in Batman the Animated Series. Check this out. Remember this little speech?
Master Bruce? Are you all right, sir?
I'm tired, Alfred.
Remember this one? The I'm tired Alfred one? Where Batman has this crisis of like, I'm so tired. Like, I'm so weary of this battle against crime. And where he's like, it's a rest. I'm like, no, it's not rest, Alfred, that I need. It's a weary spirit. And so this is really human, really compelling. It's really deep, and it kind of goes into the idea that Batman does have his doubts. He does have his moments of weakness, big time. But he still, at the other side, he still gets over it and he still pushes through. But here's the thing. Though. These moments do happen, and they happen a lot. Like these are not. This is a not unusual moment. Like maybe it's not like constant every episode. Like Macy Digital Circus, we need 1 to 5 therapy sessions every episode. Like it's not every episode. It's not every other episode, maybe, but it does happen. There are these moments of weakness, moments of doubt, moments of internal conflict that a hero faces. In fact, some of the most interesting and compelling things about Superman is that he faces down these moral complexities and has these really tough choices. Those are the best stories. And see, Wolfsbane, thanks for the $5 super chat, says, "Oh, it's one of the worst depictions of Superman, making him the representation of the U.S. for a better depiction of old Superman. The Kingdom Come. Kingdom Come is good. I quite like that one. But yeah, there's Frank Miller, obviously a big fan of Batman, not so much a fan of Superman. Still has Superman be good as a person, but has this corruption of the mind where he's like, I need to serve the U.S. president blindly to the point where he'll go even up against his old friends like Batman and maim Green Arrow. And say, well, thank you much, Will Spain. Appreciate it. Thank you much, Kalechi Oki, for your previous donation. Appreciate it.
Yes.
There we go. Let's see here. Making sure this is up here. Fantastic. All right, chat. There we go. Levi says, "Oh, that's easy. Everything became feminized and turned the world into Barbie." Kind of, yeah. These I'll say narcissistic women took over comics and ruined them. They ruined them because they thought they knew better than what has come before for the past decades, and they ruined them. They brought, it's kind of the same thing that if a man stepped into Twilight or something, they would probably ruin that too if they thought they knew better. They didn't think that, we should probably keep consistency with what has come before. This is my perspective, but keep the same style of story and acknowledge what the audience wants. But we have these narcissistic women come into American comics, superhero comics, and ruin it essentially with their mindset and their arrogance, and saying that, this is way better than what you silly boys had. Right? We're going to have more stories about going out to eat, stuff like that. And it became less masculine, and men started to walk away. And see, they started to walk away. They really did, and this became women's stories. Just about every character became a woman and or gay or something like that. It became very feminine, very womanly. For everyone, it's all focused on what sexuality is this character, whose dick is going in whose butt. That's kind of literally sometimes because there's one of the Robins is named Dick, and like they want to make him gay too. And so it's that's what happens. That's what happens. Let's see. LCT says, coming here to quickly say thank you, Mr. LD, for your writing advice. Helped me with my last project on how to do storytelling. Oh, fantastic. It's always good to hear. That's awesome. 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 LCT Teast Coder. Welcome. And glad to hear it. Glad to hear it.
Shouldn't wonder. You've taken no meals today, and I can't recall when you last slept.
A weary body can be dealt with.
It's a weary body can be dealt with, but with a weary spirit, Alfred. A weary spirit.
But a weary spirit, that's something else. Sometimes, old friend, I wonder if I'm really doing any good out there.
How can you doubt it? The lives you've saved, the criminals you've brought to justice.
I've put out a few fires, yes. Won a few battles. But the war goes on, Alfred. On and on. You have it, Alfred.
Of course, sir.
We have these deep. That's why might be why Batman is probably the most popular character from DC's roster, especially now. But all the heroes would have moments like this. A lot of them would. Like, what do I do? Am I doing the right thing? Like, what do I do? Like, what can I do that's better? I'm so tired, I'm so burned out. They have these moments of weakness, these moments of just internal conflict that is this internal war that's raging in their hearts. It happens. It happens quite a bit. The people, they will say that, oh yeah, the villains have all this complexity. It's a more you can't get this complexity unless your character is morally gray. It's not true. In fact, I made a video on this and that YouTube barely pushed and only got like 10,000 views. But I go into this with my my Game of Thrones video that people didn't watch. YouTube didn't show people for some reason. But yeah, because some reason YouTube will show you that I'm live, but they will not show you that I have a new video out for some reason. I don't know why. But I go into that, and it's actually the morally good character that probably has way more moments of conflict than a morally gray character. Because the morally gray character is, what conflict does he have? He's okay with it. He knows, like the Punisher might be morally gray. Like he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna kill these guys. There's no conflict. He's all right with it. But when it comes down to Batman and him like wrestling with the idea, like I want to kill the Joker, I want to save the Joker. He has a conflict because he doesn't want to kill anybody. He doesn't want to shoot anybody. He wants people to get better. That's the nature of Batman. It's the nature of a lot of these DC superheroes. That's why the no kill rule is so important, because the no kill rule is at the peak of good nature, of a good natured superhero, like a lawful good superhero. Like no kill rule in a like a modern day setting, because he wants people to get better. He wants people to improve. I know people really hate the no kill rule, but I think it's important. I think it's important because it does give you some more compelling, interesting moments of like, what do you do, Batman? You're going to kill him? No, I can't kill him. I can't kill. Like there's a lot of moments in Batman's history where that rule comes into place and plays a big moment in the story. Like, especially with like Red Hood, when Red Hood gets involved. Was his name Tim Drake? When he gets involved, it's like, yeah, he killed me, Batman, and you're going to do nothing about it. Like this, it's so interesting. I mean, it's so compelling, but it's not just a no kill rule. This is an example of what kind of things are brought to the table when your character is morally righteous, like not morally gray, but morally white, I guess you could say. Because he has more, he gives us more thought. He does have more convictions, more morals, more stringent laws to his character. And so therefore he kind of contemplates this more than anyone else. than like a morally gray character would. A morally gray character might have some issues with doing some bad things, but the thing is, they don't do it all the time. They just like Batman was like, would I kill this guy? I will never use guns. Morally gray characters like, I'm just going to shoot all these bad guys and go out for tacos. Tim Drake is Robin that made gay. That's it. Jason Todd. So they had Jason Todd come back, and he's like, Joker killed me. Are you not going to do anything about it? Let's see. Arcfice is also sorry to the mad that had to hit my chat a bit back. Autocorrect ate it and made it away. Not what I was trying to say. To the mad that hit my chat a bit back. I guess mad. Was it mad? Made mad angry. Anyway, chat. Let's see. All right, got this ready to go here. All right, get rid of that. Get rid of this. Get rid of this. Harambe. It was the anniversary of Harambe. I have one more video to go over. Chat. Here's a video about rewriting Batman and going over the idea. Going over what actually made the Batman the Animated Series age so well. It's become legendary. People still talk about it. People still revere the series decades later. Check it out.
Think about Batman and his villains probably comes.
Yeah, they made Tim Drake gay. I knew they made one of them gay. I forgot which one it was, but they made Tim Drake gay, and they kind of Hall of Famed Dick Grayson's butt when he became Nightwing. This is what happens when women got in charge. When they put women in charge of all of our superheroes, suddenly it's less about fighting bad guys and more about how awesome Nightwing's butt is and which Robin is gay. It's what happened.
From a single show. If that sounds like hyperbole, I'd point you to an episode like this one. Because as you'll see, this changes everything, not just about Batman, but about the way I viewed animation growing up. This show's influence has probably reached something you love that you had no idea to this day owes itself to this. And it did a whole lot to be very, well, different.
Have I got a show for you tonight? It's loaded with surprises and mystery guests and...
I think the first episode of Batman the Animated Series was the Christmas episode where he just kind of launches himself out of Arkham on a Christmas tree rocket or something like that.
Christmas cheer.
It did this by doing literally the opposite of what almost all of the rest of the animation industry was doing. I once saw it written that if you know Batman today, you don't know comic Batman. You know animated series Batman. And what that person meant was that Dark Knight, Batman Beyond, even Gotham today is all influenced in one way or another by this show. In fact, writer Paul Dini also wrote Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, as well as an excellent comic run on Batman. It all started, though, by doing animation in the dark. The animated series was heavily inspired by Burton's Batman, but animation, well, different bat. To get the obvious out of the way first here, the show's distinct look is partially owed.
See, Vlad the Shrike, this is the $5 chat, says, I've been around people who don't understand altruism, but love horror movies. That characters, they see themselves in die. What? But who don't understand altruism, but love horror movies that characters, they see themselves in die. They like to see their favorite characters die in horror movies. That's interesting. While also not understanding altruism. That is kind of a scary thing.
To black paper. Instead of using traditional methods, Batman's backgrounds are drawn and painted on black paper.
What's it called? It was called like Dark Noir or some Dark Deco. It's called Dark Deco. That's what it was. I think it was called Dark Deco. And one of the things that they did, what this meant was they actually animated on black paper. It was that's kind of what helps give like the show its iconic look, that it's made all on black paper.
This makes a huge difference. Shadows are no longer subtle background noise. Their characters' light actually feels like it's cutting through the darkness, which directly supports the show's thematic motifs, and really, Gotham itself feels like it's emerging from that blackness. This black paper methodology isn't for show, it is the show's tone, and it impacts everything you see. Streetlights feel heavy, windows glow, interiors feel lit. By building from the dark, you visually support everything the show's writing does tonally. The light is what feels unique, displaced, which is exactly how a Gotham plunged into crime and villainy should feel. And this is supported by how it's animated. While the rest of the industry began looking for animation techniques to replicate things like Disney movies, Batman used limited animation to almost mythologize Batman. The show takes a very cinematic approach to animation. It only animates what matters, movements that support the action. It animates Batman as if at any moment he'll announce his status as a god. He's still stoic, literally statuesque, as driven home by this moment in the opening theme. Character designer Kevin Nolan did his job by trying to convey as much as he could, as he put it, with as few lines as possible. This gives the show, and in particular Batman, a distinct, very intentional look that makes everyone feel a bit like a shadow. Every moment feel like it can be a part of the dark, because silhouettes are essentially always what's in front of you.
And speaking of that, this is where Batman goes a step further in doing things differently. Very differently.
Film noir is a genre that you don't see utilized a lot in animation, especially not for this audience. And you certainly don't see
It was the foundation of Batman the Animated Series, very clearly.
a lot of German expressionism tossed into the mix.
Action Punk says, good morning. I hope everyone is doing well. As always, fun fact, the same people who worked on the show appearance of Batman the Animated Series were some of the same group that worked on Dragon Ball Z. Really? That's interesting. I didn't know that.
But here, you get that weird concoction. Lighting is everything in cinematography, and it is here for animation too. Hard shadows, those silhouettes, directional lighting. Animating on black meant that the lighting could be a significantly more interesting tool for the show than a lot of its contemporaries. You get frames like this, half-lit faces expressing moral ambiguity, questionable motives, film noir techniques like lighting through windows. You can mute the show and understand the tone and sometimes even the scenes just from the lighting. And then there's Gotham itself. Gotham is 1920s to 40s Art Deco, early retrofuturism. It toned down the gothic elements of Tim Burton's vision and gave the city an elevated gold foundation. It's permanent and hasn't aged because this Gotham was not our past or future. It exists in Batman's time. If you want something to last, craft it outside of time itself.
I think the description of the setting for Batman the Animated Series was if the World Fair never ended. That's kind of what they describe it as.
But the narrative, the characters, once again, went in a different direction.
And what is this? What would you call this in its entirety? Oh, artistic vision. That's right. That's right. One of the big things, one of the big elements of Batman the Animated Series and why it carried on through the decades, because it was not powered by what has come before. It was what at the beating heart of it was a unique and distinct artistic vision for the show. And it played right into our minds. We loved it.
And even where they came from.
Batman the Animated Series.
Back when they didn't have to consult, they weren't consulting the charts as much. Like, okay, yeah, we had Batman. But here's the thing. Batman the Animated Series took its own take on everything. On everything. So we went from Mr. Freeze being almost a joke of a character, or just not so like epic of a character. It's like another bad guy that Batman would fight, to being this iconic villain of tragedy. This one of the more iconic faces of what was it of anti-villainy or tragic villainy, where we want him to lose. We don't want him to succeed. We do want him to have a better life. Like, we do feel sorry for him. We do feel sympathy for Mr. Freeze. We just don't want him to win because he's a bad guy. But it would change these things. It's like Batman the Animated Series really like hammered down a lot of redefinitions of the villains, and also gave us new ones like Harley Quinn, who was really good in her first iteration. So this artistic vision that it went with really was the powerhouse of why the Batman the Animated Series was so powerful. And they were like, okay, we got to get it Art Deco. We got to get it. It's retrofuturism, a little bit of retrofuturism in there, and it was film noir. They're putting in all this stuff that they liked, that the creators liked, that they thought would be fitting for Batman. And they put it in there, and they made a fantastic concoction. All right, and they gave new direction to the villains that's based on what would make them feel better, what would make them fit in this world. Same thing happened, by the way, in Nolan's trilogy, when Nolan's Batman trilogy, well, the first two movies at the very least, where it was also driven by an artistic vision. Like, what would Batman be like in the real world? How could he survive? How could he operate? And they reformed villains to fit the setting. It's like they did here. And what happened then? Oh, right. People still talk about Batman Begins. People still talk about Dark Knight, the Dark Knight, or not Dark Knight Rises, but Batman Begins, the Dark Knight. People still talk about these movies years and years and years and years after they come out because they were so well done. They're so interesting. They kind of were a genre defining or era defining, maybe not genre, but era defining moment in Batman's history. Like, this is the Nolan verse Batman. This is the setting. It's all driven by artistic vision, which is kind of unfortunately very absent from a lot of reimaginings and reiterations and reboots of Hollywood. And I keep saying this over and over and over again. We need artistic vision driving these things, not familiarity, not formula of in terms of like what the charts say. We got to have this and this and this and this because it's worked before, right? What's really going to drive stories and have staying power is something that's a little bit dangerous, a little bit risky, but also with a strong, defined artistic vision. And that's kind of what the Batman the Animated Series had.
Didn't do what a lot of comic adaptations do. It wasn't directly adapting the comics. In fact, in some ways, it was rewriting. Despite its art style, this isn't a show that's darker Batman. It's just smarter Batman. Instead, emotionally adult. Most of the series, when you take a step back...
Yes, emotionally adult. That's a good description of Batman the Animated Series. Emotionally adult, right? So they had things where like the good guys don't always have a clean victory. The bad guys are a little bit more complex. Still bad guys, though. You have to keep that in mind. In Batman the Animated Series, still bad guys. Still villains. You kind of feel sympathy for them sometimes, but you want them to be stopped. Batman is still the hero here. He's still trying to do good for everybody. But emotionally adult, I think, is a very good description of the show because you can kind of compare that to Millennial slop, right? This kind of show, emotionally adult, where Millennial slop might take on like interesting concepts like Amazing Joe Circus does, but they're emotionally childish. I think that's a really good way to putting it. I just kind of like realize that that's kind of the opposite of Millennial slop. So Batman is emotionally adult, while Millennial slop tends to be emotionally childish. It might have the guise of something that's more higher minded, kind of more mature or something, but it's not. It's emotionally immature at its core. And that's kind of what I saw in now. Why I like Amazing Digital Circus, it does have a little bit of that millennial sense of emotional immaturity. Now, Batman the Animated Series, boom, emotional maturity, like strong emotional maturity. It's kind of why it's been such a mainstay in our minds, in our memories. Why it's such a powerhouse even decades later. It's such a good show. It's not just because it was cool. It's because it had a strong artistic vision pounding away at the heart of its narrative. It's so good. It's so good. Like it was a decision to do Dark Deco, to make it on black paper. It was a decision to reinvent these villains to fit into this world. It was a decision to make the setting retrofuturism as described by the creators, as if the World Fair had never ended. It was a decision to do all these things. It was an artistic vision to do all these things. And this is kind of what's missing today, because a lot of the, as I said before, the companies, and what's said by George Lucas, by the way, was George Lucas was like, oh yeah, they don't really bet on newcomers anymore, because now the religion of Hollywood is the charts, what has come before, what has worked before, right? What has a built-in audience, what's safe. No more need for artistic vision. This kind of rolls into what I've also spoken about before, which is the sympathy I have for these people who are stuck there in Hollywood, in this version of Hollywood. Now, while I might dislike their arrogance and their blasé sense of superiority sometimes, you have to, and I talked about this with Glib and everything, you have to be aware of what kind of environment they are creating in. an environment that is not like independence, an environment that's not like risk taking. Right? They don't really want to see new things. They want to see old things taken on by big names. Right? They want to be safe. They don't want to bet on this newcomer to say, okay, here's a bunch of money, make a movie, and we'll see how it goes. They want to see what has come before. So imagine being someone who's bubbling with creativity and wants to do their own thing, and is like, I want to do this. I want to make my own horror movie. I want to make my own superhero movie, whatever it might be. And Hollywood goes like, okay, we like your creativity, but we're not going to bet on your new IP. We're going to hand you the reins to something that has worked before. We're going to hand you Star Wars. We're going to hand you Marvel. And you, as a creative person who is eager to make their own thing, right? Is eager to make their own IP, to make their own story, is forbidden to do so. And all you are is stuck with Marvel. You're stuck doing a Marvel movie. You're stuck doing some new animated DC film. Right? You're stuck doing whatever comes our way in terms of a reboot. Forbidden. Whatever you want. And then you kind of realize why so many of these creatives are like, or creative people in Hollywood are like, you know what, I want to make this my own thing. Right? I've been handed Star Wars. I'm going to make it my Star Wars, because it's kind of the only outlet they get. is they can make it their own. I've been handed this thing. I'm stuck with this thing. I'm going to make it my own. It doesn't usually pan out too well because they kind of ruin it, but you can kind of see where some of this comes from. And see, Trevor Costi says the hero will recognize the wrong endured by the sympathetic villain, but will also correct the mistakes the villain makes in handling it. This is what's so good also about the animated series Batman, because animated series Batman is a kind Batman. He is a hopeful Batman. Despite the darkness of the setting, he is a hopeful Batman, because every single time there is a moment where the bad guy is in dire straits, like probably the Baby Doll is probably the most blatant example of this, where Baby Doll is stuck. She's a outcast. She has no real prospects in her life because she wants to be a serious actress, yet does not have the capability of doing so because she's stuck as a child. She's stuck with a childish body. So, as desperation, she turns to crime. And at the end, Batman stops her from murdering her co-hosts or whatever, but then, consoles her at the end, because at the end of the day, he wants everyone to be better. He wants everyone to have another chance. He wants there to be hope for everyone. And this kind of plays into why he's Batman in the first place, right? Because Gotham is basically a lost cause, essentially. To most people, Gotham is a city lost in moral corruption. To most people, but not to Batman, not to Bruce Wayne. This is why he takes up the mask, takes up the cowl, and works diligently to improve Gotham City as both Bruce Wayne and as Batman. And then, of course, we have those the episodes where a villain is retired or a villain is marked well enough to exit Arkham Asylum, right? And then Batman is always like, be careful. I'll keep an eye on you. Be careful. He's always there to keep an eye on them because he knows that their nature is villainy. But he also is like, I hope you do well. I hope it goes well, but I'm still going to keep an eye on you. So Batman does this version of Batman does this all the time. He acknowledges their flaws. He acknowledges where they've come from. He will stop them. He will do everything in his power to stop them from doing evil, but he will also sympathize and empathize with them. And he knows the circumstances in which what drove them to evil. And it's kind of also what's so interesting about the villains in Batman the Animated Series. A lot of them are kind of pathetic. Like a lot of them are kind of outcast. Like the Mad Hatter. Like he's just like this weird malformed nerd who just fell in love with this girl called Alice, and his drive his love for her kind of drove him to villainy. He's like, okay, well, here's my chance to fall in love with her. And then he gives her a great night on the town. And then she falls back in love with her abusive boyfriend or her mean boyfriend that they just broke up with or whatever. And then he just goes overboard. Like, no, this is nonsense. I'm going to make you love me. This is why his thing is mind control. Same with Jonathan Crane, Harley Quinn, there's Mad Hatter, of course. Harvey Dent kind of dances between these two, between the alphas and like the beta characters, and it is in the Batman's Rogues Gallery, because which I guess fits his nature. But Harvey Dent, Harvey Two-Face, is he kind of has this whole thing of like he can be sympathetic because half of him is still trying to be the good Harvey Dent he wants to be, but the evil of him keeps drawing him back in, like Michael Corleone. But this is kind of why this Batman is also so inspirational, because he is very kind. He is very empathetic. He wants to help people. He's not just out there fighting for fighting's sake. He wants to help even the lowliest and darkest of criminals. As he Shay Durags, hello to you. Batman is TS is arguably the Iron Man movie of the 90s. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, it lumped a universe. It did, and introduced, redefined many aspects of the superhero genre for the mainstream that remain changed to this day. What's really funny though is that in Adam West Batman, he has the same speech. The speech that he has in Batman the animated series was given by Mr. Freeze in Adam West Batman. As far as I know, the first time you see it, Mr. Freeze, where he's in the suit, like the regular suit, he gives that speech. He gives the warm hand to hold speech that they kind of take, and they took that and they gave it back. They gave it to Mr. Freeze in Batman the animated series, but they made it darker. They made it like more contemplative. They made it more it was more sympathetic, more cold, because they got the guy from Star Trek to voice him. The guy that plays Clang, I think. No. That's a different series. What was it? What was him? What was the guy? He was played one of the more famous Klingons in the Star Trek universe, but he voices Mr. Freeze in that one. He does a really good job. I mean, I know him best from that DS9 episode where they kind of go in and ask Jadzia to go get revenge with them, which is pretty awesome. But he does they kind of bring back that speech and they kind of give it a new spin. It's really cool. And yeah, Mr. Freeze is probably the most iconic difference they've made in Batman the animated series. But yes, the Batman animated series was so good, it launched a lot of different things. We eventually got Justice League Unlimited, things like that. It was fantastic. That's how good Batman the animated series was. It was driven by a really, really effective creative vision for it. A really effective creative vision and outstanding performances. Outstanding. And see, is what happened to Velma? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's what happened. She was like they wanted. She wanted to make her own show, but she was handed Velma. It made a lot of change. I watched the first episode of that show. It is bad to say the least. Like, bad would be a drawback. It would be like underselling of how bad it actually is. Let's see. All right, chat.
Can look at it. Isn't a show about
King. So yeah, that's it. That was him. Michael and Sarah. That's him. He did a fantastic job. Absolutely.
About fighting crimes, but a show about understanding it. This creates a Batman much less about superheroing than it is about trying and failing to understand and fix people.
Nora! Nora!
A good portion of Batman's rogues gallery is here as
Clayface was also sympathetic. I think he was like an actor or something like that, and just I forgot exactly why he becomes Clayface in this version, but he's also very sympathetic because it's a curse. Like he can make himself into all kinds of different shapes and models and whatever, but he's cursed. Like it's a curse. And some of these Batman animated series characters are like that. They're villains, but they're also living with a curse, like Two-Face, Clayface. His name, what's his name? Scarface, the Scarface guy, the puppeteer man. Like he's also living with this very strong mental illness. It's very interesting.
People who
also, it gets to show you that how weird the underworld is in Gotham, that all of these guys, no matter how weird and pathetic, can all get henchmen.
become or already are desperate, not as villains who create desperation. At this time, Dark Knight Returns had changed comics. So did Frank Miller's follow-up Batman Year One. They were gritty, serious, dark, and this kept the series.
Those are both awesome. Batman Dark Knight Returns, fantastic. Year One is really good. I like it, but mainly because of how they portrayed Gordon. Gordon is really interesting in that one. Although they give him a little edge there. He's not as good of a person as he usually is. But they give him a little edge there. I do like the fact that he fleshed out Gordon a little bit as a character.
Seriousness of Miller's Batman changes, but removed the grit, gave it balance. It's part of why so much is inspired by this show. That balance worked.
But some of it was downright created or redefined by the show.
Rewriting Batman in some ways. This is Joker's favor, and this is the first appearance of Harley Quinn, a character created by
Joker's favor is pretty funny. But yeah, this is the first time we see Harley Quinn. She was to be like the mall character. Like, because you usually have in fact they kind of mentioned this in Breaking Bad, right? You gotta get yourself a mall. A what? A mall, a girl that kind of helps you commit crimes.
Paul Dini.
That's kind of what she was supposed to be like. This kind of airhead mallish character.
And Bruce Timm for the animated series, completely changing the complexion of the Joker, who he is, and even in some future stories, his origin. This is Heart of Ice, one of the best episodes of animation put to television. It completely
it's so good. I did a video on it.
Rewrites Mr. Freeze, taking him from a hokey, infrequent joke of a Batman villain and turning him into a tragic, broken man doomed to a heart of ice after losing his only love, permanently redefining Freeze for future adaptations in a meaningful way, and in some ways changing the course of the animation industry and how these types of shows are written. Or the two-part episode Two-Face, which shows Dent's tragic decline into the villain through the pressure of society and representing it, figuratively breaking him in half. Once again, redefining the character from a gimmick to one deserving of empathy. Empathy, by the way, that Batman in this show affords all of these villains. Empathy that too many comic book movies and adaptations forget to write into their villains and heroes. Even See No Evil, an episode about a man who misses his daughter and becomes an invisible villain, symbolizes his role in his family's life. The people are always front and center. The villains are what are fighting to come out of the background. By choosing to find new characters and paint over old ones, rewrite, the animated series gave Batman and his villains a completely new complexion and way of dealing with each other. Despite where it aired, the show trusted its audience to see the maturity required to understand people. It asked its audience to connect with and see moral gray for what it is, something that plagues all of human existence. The Pariah once told Superman in Superman Space.
Like how Batman just went for the mask, like just immediately, just like he's a man who knows how to step it up his games, take advantage of a situation. Like, okay, time to unmask you. Okay, almost immediately.
Age that humans don't believe most human beliefs because they're true. They believe them because they're flattering. Batman the Animated Series asked you to believe in the unflattering side of people and the world, and then showed you what it looks like to meet that world with empathy.
Who are you?
I'm your worst nightmare.
And at the heart of all of this was Kevin Conroy, the voice and soul of Bruce and Batman, a Juilliard-trained actor who played across from Mark Hamill as Joker, Luke Skywalker. These roles weren't phoned in by people who at the time, some considered...
I like the story of like, he was like, because he was not rich or anything back then. So he was doing the Batman voice, but he still was working and as like I think a dishwasher or something, and like people were the other workers are saying, "Hey, we got Batman in the back room there." It's like, yeah, right. And then Kevin Conroy goes, "I am the Knight." He's just, and like, whoa, that is Batman.
Beneath them. Instead, they were legacy and character-defining performances that would shape how Batman and the Joker sound for an entire generation. This was
also just an unforgettable story of like Mark Hamill kind of practicing his crazy Joker laughs in the car while he drives around. Like, could you imagine like just driving down the highway and you see not only Mark Hamill, but Mark Hamill just alone in his car laughing maniacally. That'd be a pretty funny scene.
Exceptional acting work done by exceptional actors who cared deeply about the work. Actors who also inspired a generation of voice talent to enter the space. Batman the Animated Series is Batman made by people that truly understood the character and built every part of the show, from the paper to the lighting to the characters to the voices, to support the story they were telling, and rewrote what Batman could be, and in some ways, what animation could be. Even as the show changed from season to season, evolved and shifted as a style was altered, its foundation remained. And its legacy extends far beyond animation and continues to reach film, gaming, and the very medium it was initially built on. But I think The defining
The Maximilian Zeus one was awesome. I remember watching that one as a kid, and I thought that was a really cool episode because he thinks he's Zeus, and then he comes to the conclusion that Batman is Hades. And that's pretty awesome.
attribute of the show to this day is that care. It's not influence. A Batman that cares about what's under the mask by people who care just as much about drawing that mask. A bat signal to artists all over the world, a beacon of hope, a reminder to make what you love and love what you make.
I am vengeance. I am the night. I am Batman.
Oh yes. All right, chat. Well. I think that it's time to call the stream for the day. Let's go to stream memes. Let's see here, chat. Let me see here. All right, chat. Well, here we go. Not even close to Pillarman again. Not even close. So I think we'll transition over to stream memes with this.
I sit alone on the edge of Eden. They shout at me and call me heathen. They like fire, tempt my ire. Go on now, give me a reason. Tell me straight, don't be shy. Don't you dare say you're sorry. Memento mori.
All right, chat. There we go. All right. Good morning, everybody. All this Harambe memes. Let's see. Let's have time to call the stream for the day. Stream. Oh, stream. Here, stream. Go. Good chat. What's a good chat? Who's a good chat? There we go. All right. Well, these are all Harambe memes. Forget. This is from One Punch Man, I think. Let's see. Bro is gonna flood the plane with sand. Oh, he had Sandman. He's got the Sandman shirt. This is everyone remembers Harambe. Whoa! Now let's bump the brakes a bit. Read banned books. What's this? Turner Diaries. Let's see. I know that this trophy is supposed to represent a triathlon, but it looks like a cyclist award for attacking pedestrians. It kind of ran over the guy in the back. He's about to run over this guy. When I'm in an evil corporation competition and my opponent is Nestle, what do they do? What's this? Women's fiction is a spectrum. Rape, melancholic codependency, rape, bestiality, rape, government involved, or rape, trillionaire cheating on his wife. It's all rape. I guess it kind of is true because we got the milking farm became like really prominent, and we have the Margaret Atwood's very famous Handmaid's Tale, which is actually based on the Islamic Revolution in Iran and not Christianity. And so going back in time to prevent Harambe's assassination, only for him to refuse to be saved. He knows that his sacrifice ensures our timeline and yours. This Harambe going, no, don't save me. Dicks out for Harambe. What's this? Eat, father. Eat. That's kind of creepy. This is putting a mouse in his mouth. Never forget Harambe. Let's see. The Beijing Digital Family Guy by Alisa Agabokova. And yeah, there's Kinger. Who is this actually? Over here on the right. Okay, I know there's Kinger's Black Queen. I guess he has these two other characters that are his family, and then there's little Kane. King, the horse is here. Is Mario fighting everybody? What's going on here? And I guess Jinx is really good at drawing, apparently. Yeah, but I think they're shipped by the end of Teen Titans, though. I think that's it. I think they're shipped. Let's see your chat. Let's see. I think we have to save these people, Sonic. No issue with that, Superman. And then Kid Flash, if we win, I'll give you 10 kisses. Boom, he's back in the game. Me, piece of media that I love. Me, the fandom and their gotta be careful about toxic fandom. Saturday, May 30th. Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, the Barbarian, Dungeon Soup. And see, the Incredibles Syndrome says that Bob and Helen got busy, but upon seeing their children beside them, this is a reference of something really cool and mysterious, but my mom won't tell me what it is. Let's see. He got busy upon seeing the children beside them. This, I remember that line now. Yeah, this is a reference to something really cool and mysterious, but mom won't tell me what it is. Let's see. What is this? Oh, is this Syndrome? Like he's just in the back there. Syndrome is all ginger kids, apparently. What does the S stand for? For sitter. Yeah, sitter. Originally, I was going to have the initials be for babysitter, but then I would have been going around wearing a big BS. And but you can understand why I wouldn't go through with that. What is this? Oh, it's Dr. House and his medicine, but it's Dumbledore, actually. Dumbledore and the fantastic medication. It's Windows 10. Congratulations, you are being updated. My PC. Please do not persist. Sometimes it does happen, yeah. Die Hard the musical, hooray! He puts Batman for it. They don't know what I need. You don't know what I need. If I'm to have a symbol, it shall be one I respect. There. It's Batman. It's time for you to look inward and begin asking yourself the big question, Zuko. When an anime character watches hentai, are they watching hentai or regular porn? These are the big questions that Zuko is forced to answer. Forced. This is my headcanon he was. He had to answer these questions or else his uncle wouldn't leave him alone. This bitch must die, Mr. Hat. Adam West Batman. Want to see a match trick? There we go with you're done right. Or start pounding Joker. Alternative response to I love you. Leaves room. He just leaves the room. Who doesn't? Wow. Insect noises. Why? Yo. Terrible decision, really. How dare you? Thank you. I think the joke is it the Joker's favor? That's what it feels like. I think it's the Joker's favor. All right, there we go, chat. There we go. So we're gonna go ahead and end the stream for today. Thank you much, everyone joining me. Thank you much, Best Chat, for always being Best Chat. Have a wonderful rest of your day. So again, of course, next time.
On a cold winter morning in the time before the light, in flames of death's eternal reign, we ride towards the fight. When the darkness has fallen